All right, well, good morning, everybody. I'm just going to do this again one more time, all right? We got a lot of energy and opportunity here. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. So glad to have everybody here this morning. I'm George Carter, Economic Development Project Manager from the Contra Costa County Department of Conservation and Development in our Economic Development Unit. Really excited to have everybody here. I know more people will be pouring in, but just for the sake of time, we have a heavy agenda here, so we'll make sure we respect your time and get through all the processes. I do want to also just introduce real quick some of our team that's here. Allison Greenlee, who's our Economic Development Manager for our department. Thanks for being Allison. Yes. Give her a hand. Come on, you guys. Wake up. Let's go. Oh, I'm sorry. Plus, just know this is going to be videotaped on Contra Costa Television and broadcast shortly thereafter. So it's good for all our constituents that aren't able to attend today to hear what's going on. Also want to introduce my colleague Salvador Morales. He started with us. He's the Economic Development Planner. Started with us in July 1st. Yes. Glad to have you. Thanks for all your support, both of you. Okay. So now, just want to get the ball rolling. And we do want to start with a welcome from our distinguished Mayor of Pleasant Hill, none other than Mr. Matt Wren. Let's welcome Mr. Wren. Mayor Wren.
Man, hire George for your hype man at any event you have because he's great. Appreciate you having us here today. Well, welcome. Some of you are with staff and other things. I want to acknowledge our Pleasant Hill staff. We have our Economic Development Manager, Zach Seal, here with us today. And hopefully you're enjoying the very nice treats, and that's courtesy of Juanita Davalos with our city staff as well. So Juanita in the back, thank you so much for providing food. And just in case you're hungry later, we have many amazing restaurants here in Pleasant Hill, and we'd love your tax revenue. So I'm not sure if you've been downtown, but we have Jack's Restaurant, a new cantina, Jack's down there, a Crescent Bistro on the south side of town on the Oak Park Plaza. We have Wentz's and Wise Girl and Kobe Japan over there and on the north side. If you California staple, you can always grab an In-N-Out burger on the way out. So we appreciate your support down here. On behalf of the city of Pleasant Hill, we appreciate you being here and honored to host it in our Pleasant Hill Community Center. We tried to work with the Chamber of Commerce on the weather, but they pushed all the rain to the North Bay for now, so we're good. We're very thankful and appreciative. So with that, just our eternal gratitude. Thank you guys for being here in Pleasant Hill. We hope you enjoy it here, and have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you and your partnership. And again, do want to recognize Zach Seal, who is the Economic Development Manager for the city of Pleasant Hill, for helping us secure the venue, but also provided the refreshments that everybody's enjoying. So let's give Zach a hand and appreciation for that. Oh, and also Juanita, yes, in the back right here. Don't want to forget Juanita. Thank you so much. Each time, she always delivers, so thank you so much. Absolutely. Okay, so now we want to move to the welcome from our District 4 supervisor. There's a video message that was presented from Supervisor Ken Carlson, District 4. So we're going to have that welcome right now.
Good morning. Supervisor Ken Carlson here, and I wanted to take a moment to welcome you all to District 4. And I wanted to thank our Economic Development team at Conservation and Development for bringing us all here together today. Throughout my public service, I've been a strong supporter of our business community, from large companies to our local small businesses. Our county's business community is diverse from each end of the county. We have heavy industry, agriculture, autonomous vehicle testing, biomedical companies and our medical facilities, as well as all our small local businesses. Our business diversity helps build resilience in our communities, and I believe a sustainable economy here in Contra Costa County. Please take the opportunity to network with each other and hopefully future collaboration for the betterment of business in Contra Costa County. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and I look forward to all of our business opportunities.
All right, let's give Supervisor Carlson a hand. Thank you for that. And thanks for his team for helping to coordinate and facilitate that video. We appreciate the partnership, particularly Colleen Awad. She was great in that. All right, so we do have our first presentation. It won't come in the form of PowerPoint, but an update is coming from Lindy Johnson. She's the Director of External Affairs for the Contra Costa Transportation. Oh, no. Hold on, before we do that, let me back up. So we do want to make sure we know who's in the room, first of all. That's what helps out, right? And so we want to just go around and do real brief introductions. Again, I'm George Carter, Economic Development Project Manager for Contra Costa County's Department of Conservation and Development. And we'll pass it over to Jermaine first, and we're going to circulate.
Good morning. Jermaine Carter Gibson, California Office of the Small Business Advocate.
Morning, everybody. Aram Salinas, City of Brentwood. I'm a senior analyst with the Economic Development Division.
Hello, I'm Gabby Seltzer. I'm with the City of Antioch, and I'm an Economic Recovery Fellow.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brett Alexander Sweet. I'm also with the City of Antioch, and I am an Economic Development Program Manager.
Hello, I'm Cassava Washington with the City of Walnut Creek, Economic Development Specialist.
Good morning, Melissa Ray, Economic Development Specialist for the City of Concord.
Good morning, Stephen Bader, Executive Director, East Bay Economic Development Alliance.
Good morning, Stephen Griswold, Deputy Chief of Staff for Supervisor Diane Burgess, all the way out in East County.
Good morning, Zach Seal, Economic Development Manager for the City of Pleasant Hill.
Good morning, everybody. Susan Passara. I work for Contra Costa County with our Green Business Program.
Good morning. My name is Ira Gonzalez. I also work with Susan on the Contra Costa Green Business Program.
Good morning. My name is Keisha. I'm with the City of Fairfield, not in this county. I'm across the water. I'm the Economic Development Project Manager.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patience Ofodu. I am with Stephen Bader, East Bay EDA, Head of Partnership. I love partnering with all of you, so call me if you need anything.
I am Shifra. I'm with the City of Richmond, very new, 3.5 weeks in, leading up business development. Came over from City of Oakland, where I've worked with some of you.
Good morning. I'm Leslie Choi. I'm with the San Pablo Economic Development Corporation, also here with Karen Slaughter from the City of San Pablo.
Good morning. My name is Robin Reimold. I'm President and CEO of Team California. Happy to be here.
Good morning. My name is Harumi Murata with City of Oakley, and we are a proud member of Team California.
Good morning. I'm Donna Brown. I'm from the Office of Assembly Member Rebecca Bauer-Cahan, Assembly District 16.
Good morning. Kieran Slaughter, the City of San Pablo, Economic Development and Housing Manager.
Good morning. My name is Orgil. I'm with the Office of Congressman John Garamendi.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Mango from East Bay Small Business Development Center, SBDC, at Cal State East Bay.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Suli Kenyatta. I'm an economic development consultant, new to the Bay region. I most recently just moved from LA County, where I was doing a couple of projects. I see a couple familiar faces, so excited to be here. It's my first time, and thank you to George for the invite.
Good morning, Allison Greenlee, Economic Development, Department of Conservation Development.
Good morning. I'm Mark Orcutt, President and CEO of the East Bay Leadership Council and Executive Director of the Contra Costa Economic Partnership.
Hello, everyone. Will Nelson, Advanced Planning Manager for Contra Costa County.
Good morning. I'm Mike Blasky with the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. I work in communications.
Good morning. Lindy Johnson. I'm the Director of External Affairs, Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Good morning, Lisa Chow, Chief of Staff for Supervisor Ken Carlson, District 4. Welcome to the district.
Good morning, Laura Cole Rowe, Membership and Rural Exchange Coordinator for California Association for Local Economic Development.
Good morning, Gerbak Sahota, President and CEO of CalEd. Nice to see you all.
All right, thank you, thank you. Now we all have an idea who's in the room. Thank you. And we did have a colleague, like I said, Keisha from Fairfield came out to just see what's going on there because they're considering doing something like this in their area. So we just believe in sharing best practices and collaborating. So glad you're here, Keisha. Excellent. Also, I did see our manager, Jason Crapo, just came in. Yes, Jason. Sorry, yeah, Jason is the deputy director with our Department of Conservation and Development, and he helps provide leadership to our economic development team. So really glad you're here, Jason. Thanks for all your support as well. Let's give him a hand for that, please. Thank you. All right, so now we all have an idea who's in the room, so we can move forward with the program. Can you hear me? Is it okay? Okay, good. All right, so now we do want to introduce Lindy Johnson, who's the director of External Affairs for the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. So coming up, Lindy.
I'm going to move around a little bit. Good morning. I had the pleasure of being here last year to talk a little bit about CCTA, Contra Costa Transportation Authority, and Gomentum Station, which is our autonomous vehicle testing facility out in Concord, actually at the Concord Naval Weapons Station. And we talked a little bit about what Gomentum is, how it operates, and sort of our vision for Gomentum in the future and why we think that it could be an economic development driver in Contra Costa County and sort of what we think that could mean. And we're actually really excited in the next few weeks. I think there'll be some announcements and some information about some of our testing partners and how they're actually deploying outside of Gomentum, which is pretty cool. But I'm not going to talk about Gomentum today. So if anyone is excited or interested in chatting about Gomentum and Gomentum 2.0 and where that vision is, please come chat with me. Me or Mike would be happy to chat with you. But today I'm actually here to talk just about CCTA because I thought it would be helpful to give a little bit of information about where we're at as an agency, what we're thinking about, and where we are as it relates to Measure Day, the sales tax that was passed that funds CCTA. So CCTA is funded by a half-cent sales tax. It's collected by CCTA as a special district and distributed by CCTA. And it's distributed mainly in two pots. We have a capital program and a programs program, which does not have the best sound to it, programs program. Most of our capital dollars have been expended on major projects in many of your jurisdictions, including BART to Antioch, or the Caldecott Tunnel, or overcrossing bike and pedestrian projects, right? Most of those capital dollars were bonded against, and we have spent about 93% of them. The programs continue to be expended every year, and we fund things like transit and ferry service, bike and pedestrian projects, safe route to school, programs that get people ideally out of their car and onto things like buses, or trying things like shared bike. All of these are programs and dollars that go out into the community to hopefully help improve folks' quality of life and to make transportation easier in Contra Costa County, right? At the end of the day, that's our mission and really a lot of the values that are held by the agency. We're also a congestion management agency, which means that we are required to think about how to manage congestion. And I'm emphasizing the word manage there because there's a big difference between reducing and managing. And in Contra Costa, we're really looking at how to manage the congestion. So really quick, I want to get a little interactive. How many of you are familiar with the term GHG? Right, okay, pretty familiar, right? How many of you were familiar with Mark is really excited. How many of you were familiar with it about 10 years ago? Okay, so probably about half of those that raised their hands. How many of you are familiar with the term VMT? Okay, so about the same amount that I would say are familiar with GHG about 10 years ago, right? So VMT stands for vehicle miles traveled, and it's going to be more important every day for those of us in the transportation world and field. And many of you who are in planning or work in planning will certainly be impacted by it as well, right? Our challenge and communications team is to also get VMT out in the public sphere in the same way GHG is, right? Where folks understand it, they talk about it, and they're able to communicate with others about why it matters. And why it matters has a lot to do with what we can and cannot do in transportation. So, for example, a lot of folks, when we go out into the community in places like Oakley, will often talk to us about building a freeway that would connect that part of East County to Livermore. Right? There's some questions that folks will say about, like, why can't we do that? That makes so much sense. It would be so great if we could just drive that way instead of having to go all the way around. So the question often comes back to a conversation around VMT, right? What that would do is put more vehicle miles traveled on the road, and we no longer can do that. So if we wanted to build something like that, we'd have to find a way to mitigate for those extra vehicle miles traveled that would be happening through that freeway. Now, perhaps that would be possible, right? Perhaps you would put an express bus or a rail line or something that would give folks an alternative to the car to provide that same connection, and in that also reduce reduce VMT, right? I'm not going to get too much more technical than that, but the reason I wanted to share VMT with you is because I think it's really important as we start to talk about our countywide transportation plan. So we're going to hear a little bit about Envision 2040, a large planning effort, 2045. See, I was not a communications director for that project. And similarly, we are embarking on a large planning project called the Countywide Transportation Plan. You've probably heard this happen before, right? It's not a brand new term, but the effort is going to be underway in a somewhat new way, because we have to consider projects that are not these large-scale, huge capital projects that we would have likely considered in previous years that would have increased VMT. And instead, we're having to really think about what might get folks out of their cars, what might stimulate economic development in communities by making sure that transit is really accessible and people can move in and out of downtowns. And we're really talking about what we're calling placemaking and thinking about how to create place, and what transportation's role is in doing so. And what is transportation's role as it relates to planning and density and things like that. So these are important conversations, they're planning conversations, and they're also a question to all of you and the public that you serve about what they'd like to see transportation look like in Contra Costa County. Do they want there to be mobility hubs in their communities where folks can kind of park their cars and easily take bike share and transit and shuttles to get to other places throughout Contra Costa County in modes that are shared, right? Or are they really interested in seeing express bus down 680 and they want to see something that's going to get folks out of their cars on 680 to reduce congestion specifically in that area? These are examples of the kinds of questions that will be asked through the countywide transportation plan. We'll also be asking about things like placemaking, right? Where would you like to see city streets dedicated more to bicyclists and pedestrians? And where would you like to see city streets really concentrated on transit or really concentrated on car traffic? And is it possible that some of your parallel streets might serve different purposes, not all the same purpose? So this is the kind of stuff I get excited about, and I certainly hope that you all will help us to get your communities excited about providing their feedback. This is an effort that'll be underway over the next about year, and so I'll certainly be reaching out to everyone via email, asking for survey responses, helping us spread the word so that we can get feedback to folks so that we hopefully create a plan that is actually reflective of what people want to see in their communities, but also gets them to dream about a transportation system that looks very different than the transportation system they use now. When we do behavioral research, we see that a lot of people don't want to drive, but they feel like it's the choice that they have. And so the question we're really interested in is, what would it take for you to try something else? And what would you like to try? What feels most accessible to you? And so we're really excited about that. Certainly there's a lot of technology and innovation that you hopefully all know CCTA is really interested in that would be a part of this planning, trying to kind of understand where folks' receptiveness is to that and hearing from you all about what you feel like your businesses and economic communities would be open to. But there's also just an element of really wanting to hear from the public. And so we're very much hoping you will help us to get some responses and get some insight and ask great questions, as I'm sure you all do, about what this could mean for your communities. So that's the Countywide Transportation Plan. It's coming, and we can't wait for you all to be part of it, and very much want to learn from some of the efforts you've undergone in similar ways in the last few years. So if you have some great lessons learned, please send them forward. Will's already going to do that for me. For Envision 2045. So thank you all so much. It's been great to be here.
Are there any questions? If so, we're going to use a microphone to capture the questions.
Hi, Lindy. Question, Allison Greenlee with Contra Costa Department of Conservation Development. What is the next step in terms of the county's transportation plan? So just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So quick timeline. We envision going out, envision is the word of the day, going out in December and January for a preliminary survey that will be more about behavior change. What are folks kind of receptive to? Policies and principles questions, right? Like, how would you like to see safety incorporated into your community? Is that reducing speed limits? Is it speed bumps? Like, what are some things that you feel like could work in your community, but again, that are more on the strategy and policy side? We'll do that in December and January, hopefully being able to provide something in February that's a bit of a summary of that, and that'll be incorporated in kind of the preliminary draft of the CTP. Through those next few months, we'll kind of start to identify projects and really hone in on what a plan or vision would look like. And then we'll go back out to the community in the spring for feedback on some of those ideas and possibly some prioritization, right? If we have 5 ideas in this corridor and you live in that corridor, we want to hear which of them feels right to you. And so we're hoping to also give folks a very visual experience where they're hopefully able to understand, like when we say an autonomous shuttle, what does that look like or mean? Or when we say a street that is really just for pedestrians or bicycles, does that mean no car can walk on it or sorry, no car can drive on it? Like what would that actually look like? And so the hope is that in the spring, we're going out to folks with some really concrete examples and ideas to get feedback through that. And then we do a community event series every year. And so in the early spring and early summer, from early spring through early summer, we'll be incorporating some of that survey opportunity and feedback opportunity into our community event series. So going out into your communities and looking for events. So if you have one that you think it'd be great to have CCT at, please let me know. And then after that, they'll probably spend a good chunk, probably about 5 to 6 months, kind of incorporating all of that, coming up with a final plan. And then there's actually an EIR process for the CTP that'll take place. The hope is to have it finalized very early 2026.
Oh, one sec.
Thank you. I was going to ask a question about VMT because I think VMT became a driving force behind a lot of decisions a while ago, right, when housing prices were not as high as they are now. So I'm wondering if there's ever been any discussions about maybe moderating how VMT is used, because when you talked about the example of the freeway, what I thought was, well, if there was a freeway to Livermore, that would open up an area and make it more accessible for a lot more new housing development, which would increase housing supply and bring housing prices down. So I'm wondering, because there's a little bit of a conflict there between trying to reduce VMT and trying to increase housing supply by making areas more accessible. So I don't know if that's been talked about.
I would say this is for those of you who love the policy conversation, it's probably the most popular policy conversation in the transportation world. I was just at Focus on the Future, which is a conference of CTAs throughout California, so all of these countywide transportation authorities, and there was a whole, I would say like 3-hour workshop kind of to answer this question or engage in this, and it was by far the most packed thing at the entire conference. So everyone is asking this question. Last year there was a bill introduced that would have studied whether or not what VMT's relationship really is to GHG reduction. And because there's a question on electric vehicles here too, right? That often gets brought up. And are we competing with ourselves in a sense, right? Are we trying to reduce VMT, but we're also trying to increase electric vehicle adoption, and how do those things complement or contend with each other? So I would say the legislator seems open to having some of these conversations, but at the same time, that bill did not pass. And so I do think there's a lot of conversations behind the scenes about how to address that. We as an agency are also really interested in understanding funding and mitigation, right? A lot of dollars are for capital. And so if we now need to fund a lot of operational mitigation to be able to do a capital project, is there state funding that can help to support operations, which many of you might know is already a large conversation being had, right? Like, how are operations going to be funded in this state as it relates to transit in general? And then how is it going to be funded as it relates to VMT mitigation and operations related to that? So I wish I had a better answer than we're with you and we're very engaged. CCTA in particular has been really a big part of this conversation from the beginning, because we've really looked at VMT banks and done some studies around what could be done, because we had a project on 680 that we were already looking at that we knew would add VMT when this law was passed. So we've been engaged really from the beginning, because we were in one of the first case studies, and we were able to get a VMT mitigation plan passed by Caltrans in the state, which has served as a model. But we also go out and talk about how difficult that was and how complicated it is, and that it really doubles the cost of the project. And what does that mean for the taxpayer? So I'm getting into the weeds and into the details, but if anyone wants to talk about that or is kind of fascinated, I'd love to share. In the meantime, we are tracking every effort to have that conversation, because I wouldn't say this is a finalized thing, and there's a lot of pushback on whether VMT is actually doing what it's intended to do.
Any other questions? Right, with that, let's thank Lindy for her presentation. Thank you. Setting up for the next presentation. I do want to again mention that this forum is being videotaped by Contra Costa Television. It will be televised, and we want to thank Christy Jordan and her team, Chris Verdugo, and we got Alina and also Warren here, and some other team members. But thank you for your work consistently helping us to broadcast this and get this information to our constituents. All right. Yes. All right, so now, next up, we do have, I'm excited to introduce Robin Rimo, who's the president and CEO of Team California. So let's please welcome Robin.
Where do I point for the clicker? All right, good morning. Can everybody hear me okay? You can hear me okay? I'm really excited to be here. I actually get to bring some excitement and some great news to the group that's here. First of all, I want to share a little bit about Team California, if I may. Looking around the room, we have about 5 or 6 different cities or organizations that are members of Team California. And so some of you are familiar with who we are. But for those of you who aren't, we are a nonprofit organization. We're a 501c3. We're a membership-based organization, and essentially what we do is we help promote the brand of California, the cities, the regions, and help tell the story for all of our members. So we are very, very diligent about it. It's a fun but serious business, to be quite honest with you. But what we do is we go out and talk about the attraction, expansion, and retention of business here in the state. And it's very important that we do that. You know, one of the mottos that we have at Team California is, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And I'm going to tell you, there's plenty of people out there telling the California story, and it's not necessarily all true. So if you see here on the map, what we do is a number of different ways of doing this is by going to trade shows and of every type of industry that you can imagine. As you all know, California is extremely diverse, from agriculture to biotech to, oh my goodness, you name it, industrial. And so we go to different trade shows throughout the United States and internationally to help promote our members, first and foremost, and the California brand. So you do see we do have members throughout the state, and a number of them are right here in Contra Costa County. So what we do is, you know, we go to Site Selectors Guild, we go to IAMC, the Industrial Asset Management Council, the Bio Conference. I could just go on and on, about 40 different trade shows a year. And when we go out there, we are often addressed by folks regurgitating back what they think they know about California. So it's my honor to actually help tell the true story of so many of our members. Now, one of the stories that I like to tell, obviously, is about Contra Costa County. And I talk about the fact that the proximity to rail, the deep water ports that you have nearby, the 2 county-owned airports. There's so much going on here, the innovation, the robust workforce that you have, the fact that you're all here working collaboratively together. Those are the stories that we tell to the site selectors, that Contra Costa County is open for business and friendly for business. Now, the reason why they asked me to come here is to share the really great news that we are going to be hosting our yearly annual forum here in the county. And so this is through the hard work of Allison and George and a number of the supervisors. It's very competitive through our members. You know, as you saw on that last slide, we have members throughout the state. We did this in Tulare County last year, or this past year, and what we do is we give the members the opportunity to learn, engage, and just share their stories with site selectors who are making decisions on California. Now, the insights that our members receive, I can't even get into. I could probably be up here a whole half hour sharing some of the insights. But the main thing that they learn is, you know, how can we properly brand our communities? How can we share our story better? You know, we hear back from the site selectors, hey, here's what we know. tell us something different. And so it really is a huge gain for Contra Costa County for us to be up here and holding this event, because it will give you the chance to boost your visibility. You'll get state and national recognition by being the host of Meet the Consultants Forum 2025. The opportunities to learn from the site selectors. What's the newest, greatest thing going on here? How do we brand? And then also giving the chance to showcase this area. This is the first, quite honestly, and I need to change that I've been to Contra Costa County. Until you go to a region or a community, you cannot really understand what's going on there. And so the fact that we have site selectors, very, very notable site selectors from the Site Selectors Guild coming to here, that really says a lot, and they will really go back, and they do talk. I will tell you that site selectors do talk to one another, and they say, "Oh, wait, maybe you're not quite so right about what's going on out there in California." So I just wanted to share a photo of the forum that we had. We have site selectors coming up and speaking. We do offer roundtables where you actually get a chance to be able to meet with one another. And the one thing that I want to, I did put a sample agenda. I know none of you can read it because of where you're sitting, but we pack it in 2 very solid days of education, interaction, and networking. And so it's coming. It'll be here in August. We will be announcing the dates here very, very soon. Actually, I'm staying at the hotel that I think we're going to be having it at. So I wanted to make sure that it all checked out before we said yes on that. So as soon as that contract gets signed, I want you to know that George and Allison are going to be sharing the details with you. But the one last thing that I want to share with you is the importance of collaboration together. I want you to all be excited about this, and trust me, there's a lot to be excited about. Mike Washam from Tulare County, he actually has a whole testimonial I will be sending to George and to Allison that they can share with you about what it meant. But it really was a collaborative effort on behalf of the whole county to be able to make this be a success. I wanted to show this because, as you'll see, in particular, it was held in Visalia, but the city of Porterville, the city of Tulare, even Eagle Mountain Casino, some of the private organizations. We did have Go Biz there. We had CalEd there. It's a group effort because truly we are trying to show the best face for California. So I would like to encourage you, if you want to get a little bit more information or be on the mailing list, the email list about the facts and details, you can go to the QR or you can go to the website. But we're going to be doing this in August and cannot wait, and that's why they wanted me to come up and just share this good news with you. We actually had 2 other cities and regions vying for it this past year, and we chose Contra Costa, and I'm so glad that we did. So are there any questions about Team California or the upcoming event? That's right. Woohoo!
Questions? Yes. Thank you, Robert. Yes, thank you. And that's something to be excited about, folks. I mean, Team California is holding their conference, and Contra Costa have been selected next year, so something to really be excited about and be prepared for your participation and engagement in the future, okay? So you will be getting notifications about this, but it's really something to look forward to for our county and partnership with Team California.
And the one thing I do want to also mention is that we are being very selective on the site selectors that we're bringing here. We want them to know and understand the industries that are important to your region. They're not going to talk about some industry that you absolutely have no interest in whatsoever. They want to come here, they want to drive around, they want to visit in your communities, and then they want to share with you what the latest and greatest is on that industry. So we're working together on that right now.
Give her one more hand. Thank you. Thank you, Robin. All right, so now with that, I'm excited about introducing our next presenter, which is none other than Gerbak Sahota, who is the president and CEO of the California Association for Local Economic Development, better known as CalEd. And they've been an amazing partner for years, and so I'm really excited to have Gerbak herself come out and grace us with her presence and the information. So please welcome Gerbak Sahota.
Can't not hug George. All right, can you guys hear me okay? Yep, okay, awesome. Well, first of all, it's nice to see so many familiar faces. I thought I was losing my mind when I saw you sitting there because I'm used to seeing you in LA, but cool. For those of you that aren't familiar with CalEd, we're the State Association for Economic Development, local economic development, so really focused on what's happening at the local level. We have over 900 members, primarily city and county staff that are working on economic development, similar to you all in the room. Also state partners, federal partners, nonprofit, and private sector. We're one of the largest economic development associations in the country and the largest in California. Why that matters to you guys is that not only are we working on policy and tools and resources for you at the state and federal level, primarily focused on the state level, we're doing it with an eye to what you guys have told us you need. So heavily focused on local work, local priorities. So as we're talking to legislators, we're trying to make sure that the tools and resources we're talking about are the issues that matter to you, not necessarily that are just being discussed in theory at the state or federal level. So you guys are really important to us, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I want to recognize a couple of folks real quick. We have a board member in the audience, Stephen Bader, so you guys are well represented in our leadership. And you've always had a strong role in our leadership in the past as well. So there's a lot of engagement from this area. We, as a staff, every year, usually every year, come together and give out an Above and Beyond award. And that's an award that we give to a member who's gone out of their way to help us provide services to the entire membership or do something that'll help make a difference for the membership. One of our first recipients of that award, it won't surprise you to know, is George Carter, who's hiding out again now in the back. But George, really appreciate the partnership. And also, we're connected to you guys in other ways as well. So if you're not familiar, CalEd actually has 3 entities. Aside from our primary membership association, we have the California Enterprise Development Authority, which is a joint powers authority that does financing of projects. We've done a lot in this area, but what's of note to us and what's really exciting is a commercial PACE project that we're doing in Pittsburgh that's closing tomorrow. It's a new construction on a hotel in the city of Pittsburgh where the city is a partner. I don't think I heard a representative from the city of Pittsburgh as being here, but it's a big deal for us because we're financing the energy efficiency piece, the water efficiency piece, as well as the seismic portion of that building. So we expect to do a lot more of those types of projects. And as we do, if we're in your community, we'll certainly let you know that we're working on these. Oftentimes these projects, we can't announce them until they've actually closed because there's so much back and forth, as you guys know, in the negotiation of getting these financings closed. But we have done quite a bit here, and we're excited that we have this hotel project, and we'll share it with you when we can. Also, aside from CETA, our financing arm, we have the California Academy for Economic Development. Some of you have attended our trainings, and this really speaks to what's happening locally, but from a statewide perspective. So I'm going to share with you a couple of trends that we've seen. We hear a lot about we need to train the next generation of economic developer. The challenge we've always had is the next generation of economic developer, the newest person that's come in, the person that's transferred from another department but might have years of local government or economic development experience? Is it someone that's coming from a totally different career set and now has to do economic development? So trying to figure out what each of those audiences need sometimes is really difficult. We've talked about mentorship programs, and it's really interesting to hear folks saying, I don't need a mentor. What I need is someone I can pick up the phone and call that I can trust when I have a question. So as an association, that's a challenge we're dealing with statewide, trying to figure out how we provide support. That said, our training programs are selling out. We have probably about 10 years ago, we started down the path of creating a California-specific economic development certification. This is really important to us. I mean, we hear folks talking about economic development not being a profession. And again, I'm wearing my state level hat, not your local conversations, but it's born out of what we're hearing from you guys as well. We want to make sure people understand there is a profession, there is curriculum. People need to understand what the role of an economic developer is and the value of economic development. So seeing the certification program do as well as it's been been doing. In fact, we had our recent Keys to Successful Economic Development training. We try to keep it, because it's in a classroom setting with Fresno State, to about 40 folks so people can really engage. This year, it sold out at 85. We had to expand the venue, and we still have another 80 or so on the waiting list, so we'll be offering that twice next year. Following that is the Advanced Institute for Economic Development, where you really get into the weeds of learning how to do project finance and put real estate projects together. As I'm looking at Brett and Gabby, I should tell you, and Abraham as well, we've had several of you in the room, I think, that have gone through some of those trainings as well. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you find value out of them as well. But education for us is critical, whether it's new trends or tried and true programs. One of the things we talk to for a lot of our members is folks that have been around a while will see a business retention program or see another program and say, oh, that's not innovative. But for someone who's never done it, or a community that hasn't had that, it's absolutely innovative. So what's old is new. So there's a lot of good tried and true programs we want to make sure we share as well. Education's a big piece of what we do, not just educating professionals, but educating legislators. I'm going to try not to talk a lot about the legislature, but I might close with that, so something to maybe look forward to. A couple of other trends we're seeing, we're hearing a lot from local jurisdictions, challenges about budgets. With the ARPA funds drying up, how's economic development being funded? We thought we were going to have this challenge in 2020, and we created a lot of material around the value of economic development, but materials that you all could use. Because the other thing we're hearing, some communities love it when somebody from the outside comes in and talks to their leadership about economic development, which I'm happy to do. I get a lot of invitations to do that. But there's plenty of folks that are like, I'm hired as a professional economic developer. I want to deliver the message. Do you have pieces that I can use? If we can support you with that in any way, if that's a challenge you're having, Laura on our team can share resources with you. And certainly, again, we're happy to be in your communities alongside you to help educate your elected officials, not in place of you, because we do think it's important that as we're working in your communities, we're continuing to support the value that you all bring to your communities as well. So those are big pieces. The trends about financing, hyper-focus on local projects. I think, because we're local economic development, we pay attention to the local projects anyway, but what we're hearing about it is different from the perspective that it's a very local focus, like downtown or this corridor or specific areas. It's not, I know there's been a big push for regionalism, especially when you see the Jobs First program. I did hear that I know they had a call a couple of weeks ago at the state level to talk about what's happening with that program. I also know that not all of our jurisdictions are plugged into it. You guys are pressured. Oftentimes there's just one of you, maybe there's two, and maybe you have 2 or 3 titles while you're doing economic development as well. So to be part of a regional process makes it really difficult because you need to focus locally. That's the stress we're seeing across the state in the profession. So if you're experiencing that, you're not the only one. If you're not experiencing that, you are really lucky. You're really lucky. And then let me talk about one more piece as it relates to a shift that we're seeing in economic development. If you were at our conference, and I know some of you were in Santa Rosa, I was joined by Secretary Stuart Knox, the Labor Secretary, and we were talking about trends in economic development even back then. And one of the comments that a practitioner made was, it's not enough to be a generalist anymore if you're in economic development. You have to be able to be specific, have technical skills. Those technical skills are around site assembly. They're around how do you make sure that there's places that are developed where your businesses can thrive. That is a challenge that we're seeing across the state. Again, the challenge we're having with the legislature obviously is the lack of trust sometimes with jurisdictions. Cities get called out a lot in that conversation for not doing enough on housing. Regardless of where you're at on that conversation colors legislation. It colors the conversation that happens with legislators around economic development tools as well. Some of you might have been tracking Assembly Bill 98. It's the warehouse restriction bill. One of the most difficult pieces of watching that bill go through the Senate, while we saw so many senators on both sides and as well as Assembly members oppose that bill, what you heard from the local government chairs on the Assembly and the Senate side were comments like, local government has failed. continue to pick economic development over housing. So that's what's bubbling up at the state level and kind of the wins we're fighting against or maybe addressing at the same time as we're figuring out how do we get tools to support you. The most important tool right now that we're looking at is really on the site assembly side and the local real estate development side, and that's tax increment financing. Some of you might have heard of EIFDs. Have you? Enhanced Infrastructure Financing Districts. Awesome. Okay, so those are priorities for us to make sure we protect them, make sure that you guys have the tools that you need to be effective with those. There's 30 that have been formed in this state, and there's at least another 30 that are in process. And that's important because now what we're going to see is on the operational side, do you have challenges? Do you have need for support? The legislation's really vague. We think that's great because we think it gives you a lot of flexibility. Your attorneys probably don't like it so much and are hoping that the legislature will put rules or more language in that saying you can do this. But any time that you're taking that tool back, looking for that permission to do one specific thing, know that it gets opened up to a lot more. And so those are some of the big things that we're watching. And I think I just want to close and talk to you a little bit about legislation and the legislative environment as we're starting the 2-year session. There's going to be a lot of change, you guys know, not just at the federal level. We're expecting at least 25-30% change in the legislature as well. So we'll be looking to educate legislators that we know are going to impact critical committees. We're a limited staff, we're limited resources, just same as you guys. So we'll be looking at those that have the most influence on the bills that are going to go through that you all probably care about. What we will also do is continue to send you information in hopes that you're talking to your electeds about what you're doing. This is what economic development looks like in your district. I think that's really critical because we can say so much at the state level. I'll tell you right now, your stories are way more impactful than ours when it comes to legislation. So I hope that you guys do take the time to meet with your legislators, invite them to stuff, make sure, I mean, it's great that I know you do always for this event. It's great that you guys have that opportunity to be close and really show what's happening. And the final piece is we are your association. We only exist to support economic developers and local economic developers primarily. I mean, we're fortunate to have great state partners, and I hope you get a chance to talk about Outsmart disaster when you're up here. But our focus is helping you all be successful. And whether it's looking at what's happening at the national level or the state level, we're always looking for opportunities. And if you guys see one that we missed, don't be shy about letting us know. But if you also see something that we're doing that really aligns with your work, let us know too, because we need your impact or your input, because without that, you know, we can't be relevant. We can't represent you in the way that is really right for you all. And again, we only exist to support you. So thank you for the invitation always. I'm so sorry I couldn't make it last year, but really glad to see so many of you this time. So thank you.
Were there any questions? Okay, hold on.
Trying to make a run for it. That was quick.
Yeah, is there a list of all of the ACE certified professionals, and what's the difference between the ACE certification and the IEDC certification?
That's such a good question. I'm glad you asked that question. So yes, there is a list of folks that are certified. It's on the Academy website. That's edacademy.org. And you can see those that have passed the certification, that have met not only the experience requirement, have gone through the courses, and then sat for the panel exam. So that's on the website. The big difference for us, I'm going to be candid because, again, you know, we're your association. We felt like IEDC certification wasn't serving the membership. A lot of you all couldn't travel at the time that we were pushing for all hours. Also, the classes were too broad, like they weren't specific to California issues. Like you're in a real estate class, you need to be able to talk about CEQA and some of the things that are unique to California. So some of the challenges that we face in California, maybe everybody faces them, I don't know, but I think they're unique. And so we wanted to speak to that, but we wanted to speak to it in a way that we've structured it so that just somebody with a general interest in economic development could maybe take the first class. but they won't be able to take the second class because there's an experience requirement to be able to be part of it. So broad education, but then pushing towards a certification that you can attain faster than you can IEDCs, but it's California specific. That was the biggest piece, the California specific piece. You're welcome. Thank you for asking the question.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Gerbacks, for your presentation and your partnership. Appreciate you. Yes. And by a show of hands, how many of our attendees have actually taken either the Keys Course 1 or 2? Hello. Yes. And yes, and so I was able to participate in our last session in August with some of my colleagues, Brett and Cassava, and it was really, one is really good because it gets you exposure, but two is really gets into it, like Gerback says. So, just have your breakfast in the morning, so you have your brain food, okay? Because it's really good, though. Very useful information and training. I highly recommend it to anybody interested in pursuing a career in economic development, or currently in the government, but want to get more information, skill sets, tools, and also the networking, because you collaborate with some of your other colleagues, and that's another part of it that is amazing, is you start meeting and networking and sharing information, best practices, and it just keeps the network working. So thank you again, Gerbacks. Appreciate you. Absolutely. Yes, okay, so now we do have a presentation from Stephen Bader, who is the Executive Director from the East Bay Economic Development Alliance, also known as East Bay EDA. So let's welcome Stephen Bader, please. And as Gerbacks mentioned, he's also a board member for CalEd, too, so glad you can make it, Stephen.
Thank you, George.
Slides up for you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. You guys are a little soft. What's up? Good morning. Okay. I'm saying that on the heels of Gerbacks, who just gave us a great overview of CalEd, and it's been an honor to be part of the CalEd board, because they've been doing great work, and I know a lot of you were in Santa Rosa. I don't know if she asked you to raise hands. I won't do that, but do definitely make a point to get to our annual conference, the CalEd annual conference in Ontario. I believe it's May 6th through 8th, if I have the dates correctly in my head, so it'll be a great opportunity. Some of you, like Karen and Leslie, saw a similar slide deck like a week ago because I was out in San Pablo. So I'm going to be very quick through the slides, but I do want to talk about a few things that we've been doing this past year and sort of some stuff that's up ahead in 2025. I do not have a clicker, so I will ask whoever's got the deck to advance. Oh, you got it. Okay, hang on a second. So most of you already know about East Bay EDA. You can read well, but we are a regional economic development organization focused throughout the whole East Bay and do a lot of different things to help support economic development really throughout our region. And we're happy also to share this deck with any of you. I know some of you are taking pictures. Just some things about, most of you in this room are members by virtue of being part of cities or a few organizations here in the room. We do appreciate and value your membership very much, and a lot of what we're really trying to do this coming year is going to be to deliver on that value proposition. We have a great network of partners. If your logo's not up here, it's not personal, I promise. This is just a representative sample of some of our folks. This is our great team. I know most of you know Patience. She's been out here in Contra Costa for a long time. Of course, I had the privilege of working out here in the county as well for quite a while, but we have 4 other great folks who are part of our team, and I just want to give them a quick shout out. Things that we do, I think this is an important place just to stop quickly, partly to both sort of reflect on some things that happened this past year and things that are on deck coming up. I'll start with experiences and tours, because we did a couple great tours this past year, including one at the Port of Richmond. You saw that cover photo on the first slide. I know that some of you were on that tour. We had a great chance to sort of learn about some of the things that are happening at the Port of Richmond. This too was right before the unfortunate closure of Moxie and Power. I know that's been a big hit, and there are a lot of things that are very challenging right now on the horizon economically. But we are doing some other things, and I'll just pause. The reason I also bring up experiences and tours is because we actually have a date for our first tour of 2025. It's going to be very, very close to here at Roof and Realm, which is a company here in Concord. It'll be on Friday, January 31st. We haven't even put up the registration yet, but we will soon. So any of you interested to go out and check out their company, you're welcome to join us. So we have been also trying to be a little more active in policy and advocacy, not nearly as much as my colleague Mark and the East Bay Leadership Council, but we did, as you might have seen, put out our ballot endorsements for 2024. Looking ahead into 2025, we do plan to take a little more of an active role in that, in part because we've had some transition with our leadership. Many of you may know that we have a new chair. After more than 2 decades of serving as our chair, is the Honorable Supervisor Keith Carson from Alameda County District 5 will soon be terming out of office and retiring from public service, as well as from his leadership of East Bay ADA, and stepping up in his place is Contra Costa Supervisor Candace Anderson from District 2. We are very, very happy about that. She, among others, is really helping to push us ahead. And while I'm on that point, I just want to say, too, is we do have a number of elected leaders on our board, and we'll be having a few other transitions as well. One example, Mayor Jesse Ottagine from the City of Berkeley, of course, as we know, is now going up to the Assembly. We have others who are moving around as well. You all here in Contra Costa should just know, if you don't, that we have 5 of your cities are on our board right now: Clayton, Concord, Hercules, Pleasant Hill, and Pinole. And I can tell you later who those individuals are, but you can also hit up our website. We also do a lot of great events. I think you all know that. And we do have our East Bay Innovation Awards. I know many of you helped to get nominations in. Thank you for that. We're going to be judging those nominations very soon, or I should say not we, but actually a panel of independent experts. And we actually have a date for that event. It'll be Thursday, March 27th, 2025. We'll be at the Oakland Scottish Rite Center in Oakland for that again. Hope you can all make it. One other event I'll quickly call out, although this date may change, we're looking to do our annual economic outlook and annual membership meeting on May 15th. That's a Thursday. A lot of you came to the event we just did this past September with Alexander Quinn from JLL. We're hoping to have him back to give an update. We think it'll be a very timely moment, given, of course, a lot of the things that are on the horizon come 2025. One other thing I'll just mention, also, since it's up here about sort of regional research, a number of you were involved with some work that we did a few years back with a publication we released in 2021 in the middle of the pandemic called East Bay Forward. We're looking to do an update around that blueprint in next year. We haven't quite settled on the details around it, but I see that on the horizon, so I'm just sharing that. And something I don't want to overlook in saying that, too, with all of you is that if you haven't, we do have a new data dashboard up on our website that breaks down a few different economic and demographic indicators, both at the county and individual city level across the East Bay. So if you haven't gone to our website lately, eastbayada.org, there should be, I think, still at the top of the site, a masthead across the top, which is linking directly to the data dashboard, or you can find it otherwise. But for those of you who are looking for kind of just some quick data, some quick statistics on the East Bay and on your individual cities, it's a great place to go, and part of where we're looking to also take some additional data analysis and research. Let's see. I already kind of covered, this is really kind of a recap of our 2024 events. I don't need to go through them. Thanks for many of you who helped us sponsor and support those and turn out. These events are only as successful as the support and time and investment from all of you. So we hope that you'll come out and join us for what we hope will be an equally interesting and compelling group of 2025 activities. And here are some more pictures. I know Patience wanted to make sure I covered all the things that we did in Contra Costa. We did, of course, have our Innovation Healthcare event this past May at John Muir Health in Concord. I mentioned the Port of Richmond tour already, and other events that we'll be replicating looking ahead. I mentioned the economic outlook. So again, some of you are here. You may find yourself in one or two of these pictures if you look carefully. We'll send out the deck later. What I want to do, though, for a minute is just talk about what's ahead in 2025. And we actually put this map together because myself and Jackie Funasaki from our team went to Washington, D.C. this past spring to the Select USA Summit put on by the U.S. Department of Commerce. And it's amazing, actually. I mean, many of you know this, but if you didn't, a quick reminder is once you leave the Bay Area in California, it's amazing how few people really know where the East Bay actually is. So as basic as this map seems, it's actually very, very powerful and led to a number of very fascinating conversations in talking to people who are thinking about they want to invest or bring their company or find partners in Silicon Valley or in San Francisco, not realizing that we are pretty much right in the same region and in some cases might have a more compelling value proposition. And just a quick aside too, I will be a little snarky about this, because there were no San Francisco and sort of Peninsula and sort of Silicon Valley centric representatives. It gave us a great chance to elevate and lift up the East Bay. So we're going to hopefully continue to do that. But to get more to the point of some of this, these are just some of the bragging points around sort of what some of the assets and attributes of the East Bay region. But really, we are looking to reactivate a lot of work that East Bay ADA has done historically around international trade and investment. We see that, I mentioned the port tour we did earlier. We're doing a lot of work with the Port of Oakland right now, and really trying to increase and expand that as we look ahead. So, let me turn now at the last few slides just to talk about one project that's on the horizon this coming year. We're excited because it's actually a project we'll be working not with, but alongside and in tandem and in parallel with Contra Costa County. Many of you know that the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, MTC, has a priority production areas program that they have been supporting for the last few years as part of Plan Bay Area 2050. They put together a little bit of money to help support communities that have industrial lands to be able to figure out how to better not just activate those lands, but maximize the economic value and impact of them. And so East Bay ADA will be working with 5 Alameda County cities, Oakland, San Leandro, Union City, Fremont, and Livermore, to help come up with both building design standards and other processes and tools to help sort of streamline and hopefully expedite and facilitate the development or redevelopment of properties. As you may probably know, and you may hear about this in a bit too, Contra Costa County has a similar grant from MTC to work with the northern waterfront communities and all their industrial areas as well. And so we will be trying to share and compare notes through that process so that we can really work together as a single region and hopefully learn from one another about how we continue to activate and attract investment here. This slide was from our Resilient East Bay work, but I think I have it here because it really, for us, it really is a nice kind of next step for how we move forward with this project. As you may know, this was a 3-year grant that we have from the U.S. Economic Development Administration. It's about to wind down at the end of this year, but a key piece of it was really unpacking and understanding what's happening in the manufacturing sector, which is largely clustered in these concentration areas. A few data points too, and this is up on our website, so I don't need to waste a lot of time with it, but we intentionally, this project started in 2021. There's been a lot of growth in some of these key sectors. We know right now it's been tapering off a little bit, and there's a lot of uncertainty on the horizon, but we think that the cumulative work that we've been doing over the last couple of years, the networks we've been building, the partnerships with our cities and with all of you have really been very helpful to moving this along. And we did do some very granular analysis as a part of this. Where are new industrial buildings being built? What are some of the needs? Gerbeck's mentioned AB 98, which has been a big issue. I know for some jurisdictions, probably played out in a more substantial way in Southern California than up here. But the truth is one of the things we learned in this analysis is that as much as there may be sort of this anti-warehousing mentality, a lot of these buildings actually have a lot of very flexible uses. And so we think it's very, very important to not lose sight of that as we're trying to educate our elected leaders and others around how do we help maximize the value of these parcels. Again, this is just more information that we've sort of taken up around this. You just heard me sort of talk about that, and I think I may be close to done. My last point that I'll just leave here is when we think about kind of, this was actually a slide we came up with our East Bay Forward blueprint, but I personally feel like it's actually a guiding principle for how we continue to move forward. As we know, there's a lot of things on the horizon now that we can are pretty hard to predict in terms of what's happening at the federal level, how things are going to then cascade down to the state and to local governments. I know all of us are sort of dealing with that right now. We still think these guiding principles that we came up with as part of East Bay Forward during the pandemic, as part of our strategic advisory group that kind of came up with these ideas, we think these things are really, really important. And we think that they're going to be fundamental to how we continue to work together as we look into next year and beyond. So I'm going to stop there, say thank you, and see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions? Okay, and you all have the information on how to access East Bay EDA's website and also the membership information as well. Well, again, let's thank us again. Let's show Stephen some great gratitude for presenting. Thank you again, Stephen. Appreciate you. Yes, thank you. I do want to mention we did provide some swag, I guess you call it. This binder here, it's in the back on the left side in the black boxes. It's actually a recycle. We have a recycle market development zone the county does, where they provide funding to companies that use recycled materials and use them in products and sell those products. And so we have funding for companies that do that. and it's called the Recycle Market Development Zone, better known as RMDZ. And so this notebook here is actually made out of recycled cork. And so we do have some of these available for you in the back on the left-hand side. I meant to mention that before the break, so you could have grabbed it then, but feel free to grab it. And we also I did get updated that our Workforce Development Board director that was scheduled to come has been pulled to a management meeting, so she won't be able to make it. So at least we will have some additional time, I believe, to continue your networking as the program goes on. Okay? So now, thanks to everybody regrouping and reconnecting. So I do want to introduce, and this is a part of the day where we kind of have our resource providers kind of share and provide updates and special programs that they offer. So we do want to start with the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. And I'm really excited to have Jermaine Carter Gibson here. He's a Northern California local engagement specialist. And I think you're in for a really good treat, folks. So let's welcome Jermaine, please.
Good morning, Contra Costa. Good morning, Contra Costa. Okay, so listen, it's cold outside and it's starting to rain, and when that happens, I start moving like the Tin Man. So I just need some warmth and some love for y'all so we can get through. Good morning, Contra Costa. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name is Jermaine Carter Gibson from the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. We are an independent office within the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. So the purpose today is for me to give you an overview of our office, what we do, the resources that we help provide, and encourage you all to connect with those resources. So our mission is to support California's dreamers to start, scale, and succeed as small business owners, employers, and drivers of this economy. So our office has 5 objectives. Number 1, administer the governor's direct grant relief program. So through COVID, we oversaw nearly $4 billion worth of direct grant relief. Number 2, we fund, curate, and oversee a network of small business centers. We increase the pipeline of loans to our smallest and most vulnerable businesses. We advance resiliency through our Outsmart disaster program, which I was told that I have to speak about. So we know here in California, it's not when there will be another disaster, it's coming, right? And so our goal is to be prepared for that. So we've created a group, our Outsmart Disaster team. They've created a workbook to get folks prepared for when the next disaster happens, right? And so if you're interested in this, you want to go to outsmart.calosba.ca.gov to connect with that team. They do workshops, they do readiness programs to get folks prepared for the next disaster. How'd I do? Awesome. Let's go. Let's go. And the last is we represent and elevate the voices of California small business owners through advocacy. So going into 2025, we have 3 objectives, 3 Ds. 1 is democratizing access to capital. And what does that mean? This means opening up access to capital for all Californians. This means opening up access to capital for all Californians. So you heard me say earlier that we oversaw $4 billion worth of grant relief, right? Which was incredible. It was a heavy lift. We're super proud of it. But I'll tell you, in doing that work, I noticed not everyone that needed the money was able to get it, right? And there were things that were avoidable that could allow them to be able to get to that money, right? For example, having a business bank account, right? Doing your taxes to be able to show revenue loss year over year, right? These are things that we consider capital readiness. And so we're creating programs to get folks ready before they meet a lender so that they can have success. So democratizing access to capital. 2, diversifying the innovation economy. So when we talk about diversification, we're talking about diversity in the owner, right? Race, gender, all of that. But we're also talking about diversity in industry, right? So we know we're the envy of the world when it comes to technology, right? But AI is not the only thing on earth, right? And so we're looking to encourage innovation in agriculture, in pharma, in beauty and health, right? Whatever the innovation is, we're looking to stimulate that. And 3, drive economic mobility through entrepreneurship. We are very clear that the success of a business does not only directly impact the entrepreneur themselves, it impacts their family, and it impacts the community that they live in, right? And so as we continue to push entrepreneurship forward, we are increasing the economic mobility of whole communities. And so it's our job to connect the pieces between our entrepreneurs, our support systems, the chambers, and the communities that they live in. So our superpower is our SCALE network. SCALE stands for Success, Capital Access, and Leadership for Entrepreneurs. So we take our funding, taxpayer dollars, and we push that into a network of technical assistance providers. So that includes the Small Business Development Center. So Nancy's, you're going to hear from her soon, at the East Bay SBDC. Renaissance East Bay is also a partner. We've got Women Business Centers, Veteran Outreach Centers, Apex Accelerators that focus on government contracting, and dozens of nonprofits. And so this is the point, is we have over 120 centers across the state. And the purpose is to have trusted voices in these communities that can help folks. So speaking of trusted voices, I see Wesley Alexander is here today from CoBiz in Richmond. I will tell you, Wesley is a trusted voice in his community. CoBiz is an amazing place to do co-working, to have events. And if you're looking for any way to connect to Richmond, this is your guy. And it's very important for us to find who are the change makers in these communities and connect with them to get that information out. So I want to thank Wesley for all the good work that he does. And also, since we're doing shout-outs, Nancy has an amazing FETA program, a food entrepreneur program that I love to go to because I'm a big guy and I like to eat the food. But it's also great to see folks when they start from the very beginning with an idea and they go from beginner to intermediate and watch them progress through the program. So Nancy has amazing programming that she's doing at the East Bay SBDC. Now, I was supposed to show you this. I'm clicking here. I didn't even click up there. This is my before we get out of here, this is a passion project of mine. It's called The Future Is Now. It is, to me, our youth don't get introduced to entrepreneurship early enough, right? The traditional route does not include entrepreneurship, right? And so it's go to college, do these things, and if all of that doesn't work, well, maybe you can start a business, right? That's unfair, and we're doing a disservice to our youth. So we've created the Future Is Now Youth Entrepreneur Recognition Series. It's a pilot right now, but the idea is for it to be a statewide incubator for youth entrepreneurs. But in its current form, we highlight, educate, and inspire youth entrepreneurs. So we find them, we shoot an entire episode on them, we tell their stories, we talk about their inspiration, we talk about the challenges, and it's used to promote the business and also to introduce other youth to entrepreneurship. So we've shot 2 episodes so far, and I have to tell you, I created this, so I got to tell you the success of it. So this young man here, his name is He and Ho. He came up with a erasable canvas backpack. He came up with this when he was 10. I met him at 17. We shot this episode, and he and his father were able to use and leverage this episode to reach the school district where he is. And now he's selling thousands of backpacks to the school district, being able to leverage this one episode. Episode 2 was of the Jimenez sisters in Southern California. They are goat farmers who take goat milk and make body products, right? Like lotions and soaps. We shot their episode. They leveraged that episode to get on Shop LC where they are, which is a TV show, like you go on and buy stuff. What do they call that? An infomercial type TV show? Similar to QVC. And they sold 2,000 bars of soap in 1 hour and sold out of all of their inventory on that television show. Clap it up for them. Clap it up for them. Talking about warming, this warms my heart to see. And it's amazing, like these 3 girls are the same ages of my daughters, so to see them be successful in that way is super exciting to me. So if you know any youth entrepreneurs that you think should be highlighted, please send an email to thefutureisnow@gobiz.ca.gov. thefutureisnow@gobiz.ca.gov. This is all of our social handles. That QR code there will take you to our website. And listen, for any entrepreneurs watching, I'm going to look, I don't know what camera I should be looking at, but for any entrepreneurs watching, our goal is to get you support, right? Our goal is to get you support. And we believe that capital without coaching is a crime, right? So it's not just enough to get to the money, right? We want to get you the coaching that's going to prepare you to receive it and is going to prepare you to be successful with it. And I'll tell you this last thing. Once you have all of this information, we all know that knowledge is power, right? We all know knowledge is power, but execution trumps knowledge every day of the week. You have to execute. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Any questions? Thank you. What's up? Any questions? No questions? Oh, yes. One second. Hold on. One second. Because we're videotaping, we got to make sure we capture the audio.
It's not a question just as much as, let's connect afterwards, because we do put out a monthly newsletter, and people are interested in what's going on in California, especially the youth, and that makes me really excited to hear that. So definitely applause for that type of idea. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have to say, every time I hear Jermaine speak, at the end, I just want to say, amen. You know what I mean? For real. Thank you so much for your presentation. Appreciate you, Jermaine. Okay. Yeah. Give him one more hand. Thank you. Beautiful. And again, those are some really great resources. I'm glad we're videotaping this for our community constituents that aren't here today, but they can also get access to this information as be presented, available online. All right, so next we do have the East Bay Small Business Development Center, also known as the SBDC, and we have Nancy Mangold, who's the executive director. So I'm really excited to have you come on up. So please, let's join me in welcoming Nancy Mangold, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share our resources with all of you here. I'm Nancy Mango, Executive Director of the East Bay SBDC. I have been a longtime professor at Cal State East Bay, took on the role of program directors and department chairs and the dean in the last few years. And now my new job is to do the East Bay SBDC to serve our East Bay community. SBDC, first I want to let everyone, in case you don't know who we are, what we do, I'm going to give you a very brief intro about SBDC. So SBDC is funded by SBA, by the federal government. It's a national network of SBDCs to serve small businesses in all 50 states. In California, we have 5 regions, and we are part of the Northern California region, serving all the counties from Santa Cruz all the way to the Oregon border of 36 counties. And we have 18 SBDCs to serve the Northern California region. And I serve the Contra Costa and Alameda County and the East Bay region. So East Bay SBDC was started in January 2022. It started I applied for the SBA grant, and I was very fortunate to receive the SBA grant to fund the SBDC at Cal State East Bay, and part of the funding from Jermaine's office, from the California office, was SBA. So we started in January 2022 at Cal State East Bay and from the College of Business and Economics. So SBDC's mission is just to serve small businesses. We help the business to start, to grow, to expand, and to be successful. We help them to start a business, to grow a business, to expand their business. We help them to increase sales, and we help them to receive funding to help them to start and expand their business. And we also help them to create and save jobs here and increase their sales. We have 3 major services. I have about 20 professional, very experienced advisors working for the East Bay SBDC. So we provide services in 3 areas. The first one is one-on-one consulting services. Any business in the East Bay can come to the SBDC, request business help, any area. If you need marketing plan, if you need a business plan, if you want to know where you should start a business, where to go get licensed, you want to know how to build an e-store, e-commerce, if you want to know how to do government contracting, any area of business, any business can come to the SBDC and request our services, and we usually assign them to meet with an advisor that will help them in their area of need. And the second area we do a lot is help the business to raise capital and get funding. Like Jermaine has mentioned. The third area is we do a lot of trainings and workshops. All our services are completely free to small businesses because we have the federal and state funding. So this is what we accomplished in just 2024. So we helped almost 1,500 business clients in both the East Bay and Contra Costa region. We provided 6,700 consulting hours just in 1 year, and we helped create 480 new jobs in our area, and we helped 52 new businesses to get started. And we increased their sales by almost $18 million, and we helped them to raise loans or equity, $66 million. So this is what we were able to achieve just in 1 year, and we continue to do this work. Even just for this year, I already have, just in October, the start of our fiscal year, we already have an advisors achieving $7 million in equity or loans for our client, and I'm working on a $1.7 million loan. Hopefully that will get funded very soon too. So every day we are helping the small businesses. So we are your partners in economic development. So I want to share a little bit of current ongoing program. So we have a contract with Alameda County to do full entrepreneur training academy programs. So we train full entrepreneurs who want to launch a new business. So we have different programs for them. We do this 5 times a year. And here are some of our winners from our different programs and some graduation photos for our full entrepreneur training programs. Jermaine sometimes attend our graduation. Thank you, Jermaine. And we also want to increase our presence in the local areas. So we are present in Contra Costa County. We're teaming up with Antioch, Brentwood, and Concord to do in-person advising in Contra Costa. So for Brentwood, I think Salinas, I saw that here, and Antioch, we are going there twice a month. For Brentwood, we started in September. For Antioch, we're going to start in January. We go there. We send an advisor to go there to do individual personal advising twice a month. And for Concord, we started last year in September, and Melissa is here. We do advising once a week in the City Hall in Concord. These are all to help the small businesses. In Alameda County, we also have in-person advising in San Leandro once a month, and we're discussing with Alameda, city of Alameda. We've been going there. We will probably return to Alameda almost once a week. So these are our in-person advising in different cities. What I want to share with you is some major programs coming up in 2025 that may be of interest to all of you here. We see the needs of the small businesses, so I'm planning all the program to meet the needs of the businesses. So the first one is government contracting, procurement. The federal government spends trillions of dollars each year. So is the state government. So are the local government agencies. Who gets those contracts? And in addition, federal government, as well as the state government, has set aside for small businesses. They actually have to meet those quotas. For example, it's probably hard to see, 23% in 2022 needs to go to small business. 5% needs to go to women business. And 11% needs to go to special disadvantaged programs and so on. So there are some set aside for certain types of businesses. I added up the 2022 numbers. That's $305 billion that needs to go to small business or set aside businesses. That's just for the pine contracting for federal and for state. For federal and also the, if you do contracting, there's another $113 billion set aside for small businesses. Wouldn't you, as an economic development manager, like your business to get those contracts, at least to be part of this contract? So we see a real lack between small businesses' capability to get federal contracts or state contracts and the knowledge of how to do it. So I'm planning a major conference in January and February. We are going to do a set of workshops to help on how to win government contract. We're going to do step-by-step for small business to know what it takes to do contracting with federal government, state government, and local agencies. In February 12th, we are going to put on the first ever East Bay Procurement Summit. We're going to invite the federal agencies. Earlier, Stephen mentioned we have three national labs in our area: Lawrence Livermore Lab, Sandia Lab, and Lawrence Berkeley Lab. They have lots of contracts that want to go to small businesses, so they will be invited to attend the procurement summit. And mark your date, February 12th, at Cal State East Bay from 10 to 4. So we'll not only have the federal government agencies, we're going to invite the state government agencies. We're also going to invite the local agencies such as BART, such as East Bay MUD, and Oakland Airport. All these agencies that have a contract to award to small business. So it will be a very important day for the small business to learn about the opportunity that's available to them. You're all invited if you are interested. Second thing we did, this is a picture of the Capital Summit we did last year. And we have panel speakers, well as large number of business attended the Capital Summit. Capital Summit, we bring together the lenders and all the businesses to teach the businesses how lending is done, who lends what, and we also have the network together. After the summit, we provide individual advice to these businesses to connect them with the lenders on their business needs. So, George was there in the picture there. So following the same, we're going to do raising capitals for business workshops from March to April and follow up with a Capital Summit 2025 on May 8th. Mark your calendar if you're interested to attend our Capital Summit. So hopefully through the workshop And through the Capital Summit, we'll promote a lot of the access to capital for small businesses. Another major event we're going to start in Contra Costa is the Capital Summit. We do the Capital Summit in Hayward, in our main campus once a year. And this is the first year I'm working with the City of Antioch and City of Concord to bring our Capital Summit to Contra Costa County at our Concord campus. And this will be September, and we'll provide more information later. The last event I want to talk about is our entrepreneur event. And if you want to get government contracts, if you want to get lending from the bank, the first thing they're going to ask you to do is to come up with a business plan. Who are you? Define yourself. Why we want to buy from you, why we want to lend to you. So following that, we are setting up an entrepreneur event and business plan workshop to teach entrepreneurs how to start or launch a business, how to write business plan, and how to get financing. At the end, we're going to have Entrepreneur Day and Small Business Resource Fair. And the date most likely will be in June 2025. And we're inviting all the cities, counties, and all the resource providers to come and share your resources with the entrepreneurs. So that is what we plan. And here's our contact information. So thank you for the opportunity to share resources with you. Just remember, East Bay SBDC is your partner for economic development. We'll be very happy to help many cities with your economic development. Thank you.
If there any questions for the SBDC? Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Yes, please. We're videotaping.
Hi, I'm Kevin Cabral from the Concord Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for all you do. And, I know you're in Concord and we direct people through Melissa to your spot there. My question is there any kind of funding or small business grants for chambers to help drive people to your programs, or for us to use some of our resources to go out into the community and educate? I mean, we do naturally, but if we were able to tap into some additional funding, I think our boots on the ground efforts could help programs like this. I just don't know if it's available. Like businesses, most chambers did take a little hit during the last few years. I'm just wondering if you know of anything out there like that.
I can explore that. I'm not aware of the funding for the chambers, but you do know that many chambers apply for different types of government funding to help them to expand their outreach. So we can check into that, and perhaps we can also talk to Jermaine to see if he is aware of such funding for chambers for outreach work.
Thank you.
Another hand up? Yes.
Hi there, Nancy. Quick question. We've had businesses contact our office in the past about how to get the designation of a woman-owned business or a disabled veteran-owned business. Can you provide a resource on where we can direct local businesses that don't currently have that designation? How do they go about getting that?
Yes, very good question. So two ways. One is we do have advisors who specializes in government contracting and certification. So if it comes to the SBDC, we'll assign that business to the advisor to go through to walk through the process. Another alternative is just what I just mentioned. I'm going to do this How to Win Government Contract, Are You Contract Ready workshop. One of the workshops is devoted to getting certifications, what certifications are honored by the federal government, state government, and how to be certified. So attend one of the workshops, which is designated for certification and getting get to be a qualified supplier for government contracts.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Oh, yes.
How you doing, Nancy?
Hi, Wesley.
Happy Wednesday. For the Food Entrepreneurship Training Academy, what would it take to have something like that in Contra Costa County?
Alameda County provided us funding and provided us the program to execute. So we can talk offline. How do we do that for Contra Costa County?
All right, thank you.
It is sad because Alameda County tend to be driven by Alameda County, so they do us to turn away anyone who's not from Alameda County. So yeah, recently I have to turn away some of the ones from Contra Costa County because Alameda County wants to enforce that policy for their program. We can talk, and so if we can come up with some funding to provide that, we'll be happy to.
All right, any other? Yes, one second.
Thank you for asking that question about getting people certified, because where we are in San Pablo, the number one thing is how do I get certified as a DBE, a minority-owned business or a woman-owned business? So however, what I wanted to ask is, can you share with us your flyers, your marketing stuff? If it's translated into Spanish, great. If it's not, we'll do that for you so that we can get it out on all the different channels we have, because the whole thing here is like, how can we promote anything you all have going on that is going to be helpful to our businesses and to the region as a whole? Anything that is with entrepreneurs and businesses would be fantastic. So I'm happy to do that, and I just wanted to put that out there of saying, hey, how can I get your stuff so we can put it out on all of our platforms?
I'll be more than happy to share because for each program, actually, George, I revised the slides to have the website and the flyer for the procurement summit. But it's okay. What I would do is, if George doesn't mind, I will send it to George, and he can, distribute it to all the economic development managers here.
Gladly, absolutely. Any other questions? All right, well, again, we want to just express our appreciation for Nancy and SBDC for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate you there. The SBDC has been a great resource for entrepreneurs seeking to develop their business. I highly recommend anybody thinking about starting a business, connect with them first. Saves you lots of money because you do want to have a business plan and prepare yourself properly, and they're a great resource. And they have advisors that can help provide assistance to you one-on-one as well. So thank you again, Nancy. Appreciate you for that. All right, so next up, and we're doing good on time still, great. Okay, so yes, the next up, we do have the Contra Costa Green Business Program. I'm excited to introduce Susan Pissarra. She's the Hazardous Waste Reduction Manager with the Hazardous Materials Program, and we go way back, but she's been amazing for a long time. Let's welcome Susan, please. There you go, good to have you here there, appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. I wasn't here last year. This is a great group. I feel like you're all so engaged. Can you hear me? I feel like you can't hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, great. My name is Susan Pissarra. I want to thank George for connecting me to this group because I manage a green business program, which may not be immediately thought of as economic development, but I'd love to connect with all of you. So really just want to raise awareness for our program, make connections, and especially those in the eastern part of our county. I feel like we need a little bit more help there. So I'll talk about that in the moment. This is our program mission. It is to really recognize and promote businesses that have implemented very high sustainability standards into the operation of their business. And our program started in 1998. I work for the county in the health department in hazmat programs division. So raise your hand if you even knew that there was a green business program in the county. Quite a few. That's great. So I'm glad to be here for those that may not have known that we have a green business program. And we are a member of the California Green Business Network, which is a statewide network. And we, for the most part, collaborate and have standardized marketing and standardized checklists, and we have a marketing performance standards. Now we have an equity committee also, and sustainable funding. And so this is a snapshot of our current businesses. As you can see in East County, we need some help there promoting it to businesses. Right now, we have almost 200 active certified businesses, so businesses do need to get recertified every 4 years, which is why some of them tend to drop off if they're not fully engaged or lose some bandwidth within their, or if they just don't want to be continue with the certification process. But since 1998, we have certified over 668 businesses. So it kind of, I mean, we've assisted a lot more. So this is just kind of like one facet of the impact that we have with our program. In our certification process, it's no cost. We say that there may be additional costs if they do need to make changes as part of our program, but there's no upfront costs. So our services are free, and it takes, I would say, on average, about 3 months for a very engaged business to get certified. And there's an online platform. They register online. There's basically an assessment. We have over 25 different types of checklists. So a lot of the businesses in our county are office retail based, but we do have the second highest is auto repair, and that's because I work in our hazmat programs division, and there was a huge push at the beginning of our program to the auto repair industry. But we also have several construction remodel businesses, small manufacturers, what else is there? Janitorial services is also very popular, and restaurants. And the baseline, I'll talk about our certification standards next. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But they complete the checklist. And since COVID, we really have been able to improve our flexibility in serving our businesses. So we have the capacity to meet with them virtually at first and kind of go over their assessment and identify where they are. So whether they have they're totally sustainable, great, we want to work with you. But if they need help, we're here for you also. So we really truly thrive in providing that direct assistance for the business wherever they may need it. So we meet with them, we kind of tell them what they need to get done, and then they get certified. We also recognize them every year if you're familiar with Sustainable Contra Costa, at the Sustainable Contra Costa Sustainability and Leadership Awards Gala. Central San is also there, and they have pollution prevention awards, and SCOCO also has awards that they give out. So that's kind of the overview of the process. We have a mix of businesses that are very energized by it and get through it, but some of them need a little bit of hand-holding. So we try to provide as much help as we can to get them certified. And for our certification standards, they are a mixture depending on what sector they are. So it's sector specific. There is a mixture of water conservation, energy efficiency measures. We require environmental compliance for all of our businesses, but there's also measures in pollution prevention, environmentally preferable purchasing, general measures that are based on community. And so it's all encompassing, and it is specific, like I said, specific to the sector. And what else was I going to mention here? Those are some of the language. There are required measures, and then there are ones that are kind of like, you need to do 1 out of 3. So that's kind of getting into the nitty gritty of the checklist. But once they are certified, we give them a decal. There is, if you go to greenbusinessca.org is our statewide website, and then /Contra Costa County is our specific county website. And so there's an online directory that they'll be posted at. We ask for a testimonial from them, post their photos, and so we really try to highlight them and recognize them as much as we can. And then many of our measures up there, it says that there are many that are facility based, so like changing a toilet would be one, or there are a lot of behavioral based too. So it would be like forming a green team, or implementing an environmentally preferable purchasing policy. And a lot of these things I feel like extend past the business. So for example, our office is in the process of getting recertified, and we recently implemented composting, which if you're familiar with is there's so many parts to it. There's employees, janitorial, we are also a tenant, so we had to get the building owner involved. So those types of things expand past just the business. Like people are like, oh, well, I want to compost in my home. So I feel like it's greater than the sum of the parts, which is really great. And then there are just generally the benefits of creating a cleaner and healthier atmosphere for the employees, for the business owners, and for the community members. And we do have, my whole point for this was that we have like metrics for it. So if they are really good at putting in everything that they've done in there, then they would be able to calculate their greenhouse gas emissions that they've saved, their water that they've saved, how much electricity they've saved. So it's a really cool platform that we have that I did not put a snapshot of, but please feel free to go on our website to take a look at it. And all of this would not be possible without our partnerships. We work really closely with a lot of cities and historically a lot of the utilities and agencies in our county that help provide resource conservation audits for our businesses that we would recommend, or any required environmental compliance audits. And then we really try to connect the businesses with any resources that our partners may have, and highlight those businesses or get business referrals from our agencies. So mostly cities, utilities, but now I have a room full of economic development people, which is great, which has not really been something that we have focused on in the past, but I would love to partner with you, get your input, collaborate. Like I said, the certification is our end goal, but we do a lot of work with collaboration and partnership just in general. And one of the things we are working on right now is with MCE and one of our kind of like California Green Business Network's nonprofit agency, Environmental Innovations. We have a grant that's going for implementing. I put the wrong grant name. It's not Simplified Savings, but it's the SBEA, the Small Business Energy Advantage. So providing energy efficiency audits and assessments to businesses that are in disadvantaged communities from the California climate populations map, or if they meet the definition of hard to reach. So doing those assessments and then hopefully having a vendor come out and be able to implement energy efficiency changes to their business at no additional cost. And Ira in the back we're a mighty team of two, I will say. Ira's back there. We have some flyers if you're interested in learning more about that. But like, that's not really a certification, but we do that type of work also. So really anything having to do with green business, helping businesses really amplify their sustainability and operations. So please chat with me. We're back there if you want to collaborate. And that's our website and my contact information. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Thank you again, Susan. Are there any questions? Yes. 1 second.
Susan, you mentioned the MCE East County opportunity to collaborate. Can you talk more about next steps?
The next steps are, well, it has to be this specific one. I mean, I just want to say I would like to collaborate with everybody. But for that specific one, the MCE, IRA is currently going out there. Even though technically our contract is not totally finalized, but I'm not going to talk about that. But it does have to be within an MCE service area, correct, Ira? Yeah, and then and it's based off of, if it meets the qualifications of a disadvantaged community, so it's either low income, I think it's based off of the climate, is it the priority populations? Okay, Ira can talk about this. So those are the requirements, and hard to reach, or they have to meet the definition of hard to reach. So IRA has been working with MCE, and I think a part of the Chamber of Commerce in Concord for like target areas. So the other portion of it is she is doing the assessment, but then they have to verify their qualification and then make sure that there's enough work for a vendor to come out. So we're trying to have like concentrated outreach so that it makes economic sense for a vendor to come out to make the changes. But we would really love to do some work in East County to engage those businesses. So I don't know if Ira, you want to chip in on the next step. It is in progress right now. So.
Yeah, I would say definitely reach out to us if you feel like some areas in your city or county would be able to qualify for this program. We can check eligibility, and then definitely if they're not in a low income area, they do have other questions that might be able to qualify them. Like some of the questions we ask is your main language something else other than English? Are you renting? Do you have less than 30 employees? Those are the type of questions that might be able to get them qualified for the program. But definitely because we have an electrician, after getting all the information, we have an electrician go to the business and do the upgrades. We do want multiple businesses if we can get in, because that's what the electricians will like, since as you may know, a call of service, if you walk in, they're already losing like $200 just by walking in to a business. So we want to make sure that we're getting as much businesses as we can in one area.
Does that answer it? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, I connected with Salvador, so we'll follow up with that. Any other questions?
Oh.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was just thinking about what Nancy mentioned earlier around procurement and thinking about Green Business Network. Have you been able to convince any cities to add Green Business certification as a metric or like an additional points for their RFPs and RFQs?
You know, I feel like someone else, Gabby, you asked me that too. So that's a great point. I don't think we've necessarily advocated for that as part of, and I explained that with our Green Business certification. Like each business is required to implement an environmentally preferable purchasing policy and is required to do business with other green businesses. I know for the county that we recently have had an environmentally preferable purchasing policy, and that was included in there for noting to encourage doing business with green businesses. But that's not something that I've worked on advocating, but it's a great point, especially I've heard it twice today. So thank you for that feedback.
And one last thing, I know, Susan, you mentioned in the past trying to really connect more with the East County area, try to expand more. So
yep.
We do have some East County cities here. So anything you want to share about that?
I think that, we've been kind of working on it. As you can see, like we did have, I feel like we had quite a few more businesses in East County before, but it's not just like with marketing and outreach, but I feel like also we could definitely bolster up the work that we do with utilities or agencies or any agencies that provide services, especially very specific to like business or sustainability. I feel like the work that I have done, there's a lot of like healthcare CBOs in East County, but really trying to support our green businesses, not just with like marketing efforts and but also with the like having more general partnerships in our program is something that we're actively trying to work on right now to improve equity.
All right. Well, thank you again, Susan. Appreciate your presentation. Thank you there. Appreciate you. Yeah. Good job. All right, so now we do have, I just want you to be prepared because this is going to be some really interesting information for a lot of you, especially that, well, I don't want to take any thunder, so let me just go ahead and introduce the Contra Costa Environmental Health Team. It's Christian Lucas, who's the Director of Environmental Health, along with Veronica Burrell, who's the Acting Assistant Director of Environmental Health, and they've got some really interesting information to share with you. So please join me in welcoming them, please. Thank you.
Slides. I can probably do this without them, but it's going to be way more interesting if you have something to look at. Well, I guess before we get started, first I'd like to thank George for extending the invite to us and allowing us to present to you guys today. The program that we're hopefully going to have slides for is one that we're really excited about and just started this year. I'm glad that we're following our colleague Susan. We are, both Veronica and I represent the Environmental Health Division, which is a sister. Can you hear me? Better? Cool. I just don't want to boom things out. But environmental health is a sister regulatory agency within the health department. And so it's really nice for us to come to a venue like this to talk with all of you, because we are more on the regulatory side of things and making sure that people are getting access to safe and healthy foods. But to be able to connect our customers and clients that come see us for their permits to those of you that have some resources that might benefit them as well. There we go. Excuse me. So my name is Christian Lucas. I'm joined by my colleague, Veronica Burrell. And like I said, we both work at Environmental Health. And today we're here to talk about our brand new micro enterprise home kitchen operation pilot program. That's a bit of a mouthful, so I will refer to it by its acronym, which is affectionately called AMICO. There we go. So we have put together a brief presentation for you today just to talk a little bit about what MICOs are. Veronica is going to provide you with some examples of the types of foods and other things that you will find in a MICO. I'll highlight some community benefits, or at least those with which the health department believes are going to hopefully be community benefits. And then Veronica will finish it off by talking a little bit about the pilot program in general. And then, of course, the top of most people's minds when we talk about this are the logistics around fees, especially in the type of economy that we're in now. So we'll get right into it. So what is a MICO, you might be asking yourself? Well, it's essentially a home-based micro restaurant that allows for dine-in, pickup, and delivery services by local entrepreneurs who come to us to get their permit. These MICOs were originally created via Assembly Bill 626 that was signed into law back in, I believe, September of 2018, although don't hold me to that. And then there's been some subsequent cleanup language by our state legislature, various bills that have passed, the most recent being Assembly Bill 1325, which did a couple of really good things. It amended the meal limitation. It increased it to 30 meals per day and a maximum of 90 meals per week for these types of businesses, as well as raised the gross annual sales limit from where it was, which I believe was 30 meals per day and 60 meals per week, up to, or I mentioned 30 meals per day and 90 meals per week, but also the gross annual sales limit went from $50,000 maximum to $100,000. And you might be wondering, well, who's going to look at these things? Well, when people come to us to apply for these permits, that's something that our office, through the application process, will be verifying the meal limitations as well as the gross annual sales limitations.
All right, and sorry. So to add to that, so Miko's, before Miko's, we actually had cottage food operations. And so that was active within our county and the cities for a number of years. But that was a very small scale type of home kitchen that allowed baked goods like your cupcakes, your muffins, your spices. But what this is, what Miko's is essentially what you know as a restaurant, you know, cooking, whether it's tacos, tamales, lasagna, what have you, at home, at the residence, whether it's in unincorporated or incorporated parts of the county. So as you can see, these are some examples, but the only limits in terms of what they can serve is something that they can cook and serve on the same day. So they shouldn't really be cooking it the day before. That lowers the risk. And then there's some exclusions that have higher risk. They shouldn't be doing homemade cheeses, homemade yogurts, homemade ice creams, or any raw oysters. The risk increases with those. But for the most part, the variety of menus that they can have is quite expansive. So this really opens up the opportunities for people needing to have a business from their home, something that, you know, allows them to have an extra income.
As I mentioned, Contra Costa Health believes there are going to be many community benefits, or hopefully there's going to be many community benefits that come from these MECOs being introduced throughout the communities in the county. Most significantly for small-scale home cooking operations, again, throughout the county. We hope that it's going to encourage existing informal home food operations to become safer, because that's our bread and butter in environmental health, as well as legalized. As well as allowing people to learn the basics of what it takes to run a small-scale food operation, which we heard from the Small Business Development Center. And in fact, we'd love to connect with you to be able to sort of shuttle some people your way that have these questions, that ask us, but we don't necessarily have the resources to provide to them because, again, there's others here that are better at doing that. As well as enabling, and this is an important one, family members to continue to provide existing in-home care to either friends or family members while still being able to generate income to support that family unit. As well as creating another pathway to supplement family income, which of course in this day and age with the rising inflation that is sort of prevalent throughout our country is something that's very important. And lastly, we hope that it provides some additional food service options in remote locations as well as known food deserts that are sprinkled throughout our county.
All right, so this program is actually a 2-year pilot program. It started as of July 1st this year, 2024, and it'll continue on for 2 years. And we are using this pilot program to test out to see, you know, is this a benefit to the community? Are there any additional outreach, education information that we need to give these operators, applicants, more education so there's no nuisance around the different neighborhoods that we have. And then throughout this pilot program, any feedback that we receive from the applicants, from the cities, any agencies, any of the neighborhoods would be appreciated. But for this 2-year program, the initial permit is $696. The renewal, so every permit after that would be $345. And those fees are prorated. So our permit year starts from March until the following February. So if they start in the middle of the year, it will be half of that. And in terms of environmental health, if you want any information about home kitchens, whether it's Miko's or Cottage Food, you can check out that QR code or our website there. But essentially, our purview is we look at their operations. It's not on the same level as a restaurant. We're not looking for commercial grade, equipment there. Obviously, these are residential kitchens, and we understand that. So our first permitting inspection is just making sure that we understand their menu. They get some education from us in terms of food safety techniques. We offer them the permit, and then we do one annual inspection for that year. We may go out for complaints if we receive any complaints. That is also there. And then also, we've had some workshops this year. We'll be offering more workshops in 2025 at our office in Concord, but also throughout the county in different areas throughout the county where we try to help the applicants figure out if this is a good business opportunity for them. And then we try to connect them to different services too. There's a nonprofit down in SoCal that helps them, gives them a 6-week workshop, and then there's a little grant funds that they're able to give them towards their permit, towards marketing, towards equipment or ingredient costs. But as we do that, we've been collecting or connecting with various agencies too. So if you find that this is a good connection for you, please reach out to us, because we would more than love to offer that to the applicants.
And I think just to add, I probably should have started with this, but Veronica reminded me of it now. The whole idea of these micro enterprise home-based kitchen or businesses are essentially to provide sort of an entryway and a pathway into that food business landscape that is all around us. But it's a very capital intensive and sometimes fickle industry. And so this is a way that allows people at a relatively low cost to reduce some of those barriers to entry and be able to learn some necessary skills, or maybe even further develop those skills that they might already have, whether it's something that was imparted from a cultural standpoint, or just skills that they've learned over the years. It allows them to explore those skills and actually generate some income using existing things that they might already have. So we're really excited about it, and I believe that's the end of our presentation. So we'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.
I got so excited looking this up, and maybe I missed this, and I apologize. Is there a list then of those that are considered Miko's? Did you say that?
I did not, but that's a great question. And in fact, I was just emailing some of our folks in IT like yesterday. We have developed that, and it's going to be put on that website that you looked up. It's just not quite there yet. But yes, you will have a way to look up those home kitchens on our website here very soon, maybe even as I'm talking to you.
That'd be great. And the other question I have is, has there been any discussion then, obviously, with partnering on Uber Eats, any of those, because they're doing this in the home. Obviously, I'm trying to envision how they're distributing the food afterwards.
Right, that's a wonderful question. So that is actually a restriction within the California State Food Code. Uber Eats and those types of commercial delivery systems are not allowed for most part of these home kitchens. If they do want to have a different kind of third-party app, there's certain ones that the California Department of Public Health has approved to market certain home kitchen operations, but that is actually a restriction within the food code.
And if I could just add real quick, I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that like a employee of a microenterprise business, food business, can deliver that food on behalf of that particular business. So they might not have access to the Uber Eats and the DoorDash that we're all familiar with on sort of a commercial basis, but they still have that delivery option.
This is coming, from questions I get from small restaurants that have, storefronts. They've got the hood, they've got the Eco Lab, they've got all the, extra costs. And, I've done a little bit of homework on the Miko's kitchens, and I've sat in on some training over at the Contra Costa office. But the thing I didn't realize is it's a pilot program. What does it judge it? Because the question I'm getting, unfortunately for businesses, is they're going to step into a Miko's kitchen. They're going to leave their rent, they're going to leave their Ecolab, they're going to leave their hood costs, and they're going to step into a Miko's kitchen because they don't think anybody's going to really regulate the 30 meals. And I know there's tons of Miko's kitchens that aren't certified right now. I'm not naive, but it is a burden on current restaurants to know that this is a new competition for them, and some of them are going to choose to go that route. So I want to know what determines the pilot program as being successful, because I would hate for someone to step down and then we no longer have these. And I would also like to know what kind of regulations are put on the home kitchens as far as especially pest control. Restaurants bring pests and vermin. So those are my two questions.
Yeah, great. And thank you for bringing that up, because I think, you shared a concern that is one that, we've seen ourselves and we've heard about ourselves. I think in terms of what it looks like for these types of businesses long term, the idea, as I mentioned, is to create a pathway into what can be a very capital intensive arena. And so this is a way that allows, small business entrepreneurs to at least test the waters out. The things that you mentioned are, there are things that we regulate on a daily basis when our staff go out and do these inspections in food facilities, whether it's for those hoods, whether it's for the various pieces of equipment that people have, the sinks, the pest control, all of that. There's a different set of rules and regulations for those commercial types of businesses, as you might expect, right? There's a higher volume of food. There's the higher probability that things might go wrong and might affect a larger number of people because of the number of people that these commercial type businesses might serve. And so there's a different set of rules. For the microenterprise home kitchen operations, again, it's a state law. And so the state legislature added some additional rules and requirements within the health and safety code specifically for these types of businesses. It eliminates the need for them to upgrade things, to shell out more money in order to make themselves be like a restaurant. But nonetheless, many of the same requirements from a food safety standpoint, from a pest control standpoint, are still applicable even in a small home-based business. And so we, as Veronica had outlined, as part of our program, even though it is a pilot program, we're still doing inspections per that permit. We don't placard like a commercial restaurant. You're probably familiar with all of those red, yellow, green placards that you see in restaurants that sort of says, how a facility might have performed the last time we were there. Those are not something that is applicable to Amico, but they still have to get the permit, they still have to get the inspections, and they still are required to uphold a lot of the same standards that a commercial type of business has, including pest control, as you mentioned. And that's one of the things that we're going to be investigating when we're out there. In addition to responding to complaints from the community. So if a community member decides that, maybe there's, maybe they are seeing an increase in pests or things of that nature, they can call our office and we will respond out and we will investigate those just like we would for a commercial type of business. And I've been talking so much that I can't remember the second part of your question, but if you could ask that.
What determines the success of the pilot program?
Yeah, I think it's the number of permits that we issue. Like, are we able to actually get these permits and get people, into this particular program? Some of that is due to the outreach that we do, which we've been doing pretty much ever since the inception of this earlier this year. We're here today talking to all of you, hoping to sort of extend that out amongst all the circles that you interact with. And then it also comes down to the feedback that we get from local agencies, local code enforcement agencies that might be, impacted by these types of things. We want that feedback. In fact, earlier this year, we had put together a a meeting, and you might have attended that meeting where we had talked to local agencies about how to get in touch with us, because when we eventually have to go back to our Board of Supervisors following the conclusion of this pilot program, we have to make a recommendation on whether or not we believe that the board should continue or not. And so we want to be able to provide them with as much information as possible from as many areas of our county as possible. So if there are agencies like yours or any of yours for that matter, please let us know. We want to hear that information, especially if there's complaints related to what you're hearing about these types of businesses. That will all be included in the report that we eventually make back to our board. Again, to provide them with as much information to make the best decision possible for us moving forward. Did that answer your question? Yeah, great.
I had a question, and then depending on the answer, I may have a follow-up question. So just so I understand how Amico would work, it would be more than just utilizing your residential kitchen to prepare food and then deliver it somewhere. It would also include options for having customers come to the house, eat inside the house, in the front yard, in the backyard, as sort of a restaurant being run out of a house. Is that correct?
Correct.
So then the second part of my question is, because it's a very interesting concept, and it goes against the grain of 100 plus years of zoning in the United States, right? You normally have your residentially zoned areas, you have your commercially zoned areas, and they're somewhat separate. You have mixed use areas as well sometimes, but this means that if you live in an exclusively residential area, your neighbor could open up a restaurant in their house, right? So are there any restrictions on whether or not homes can do this if they actually share a property line with the adjacent home, versus there are some homes that are a little bit more isolated or far apart from the adjacent homes or the closest homes to them? And I guess this would be part of what is then assessed, right, at the end of the 2-year pilot program, is whether or not this does become an issue. Like if my next door neighbor opened up a restaurant next door, that would be very interesting for me and my family in terms of the noise, the smells, and all of the additional cars that would be coming to visit this restaurant next door to my house.
Great question. So that is actually also addressed in the California Food Code. So within the Food Code, it says in terms of zoning, it should remain as a residence, even if they open up this MICO. So it stays as a residence, and fire and building code, those codes still remain as a residence. It doesn't get bumped up into a commercial zoning or facility. And then in terms, I mean, same as we said before, and it sounds like you reached to that same conclusion. If there's any problems with your neighbor having this kitchen, noise complaints, traffic complaints, nuisance, obviously please let us know, please let the city know, and then that's when we go in and address it. All the feedback that we get at the end of this 2-year pilot program will be collected and then given to the board.
Thank you. And real quick on the 2-year pilot, I just want to confirm that let's say the pilot is not renewed, or the project is not continued at the end of the 2-year pilot period. Does that also mean that does that only mean that new permits would not be approved, or does it also mean that the existing permits that had already been approved would expire?
Question. The permit, so at the end of the pilot program, we could not issue any new permits. The existing permits would be allowed to be, to continue until their natural expiration. But every time somebody wants to open up one of these businesses or renew, as you saw from one of the slides that we provided, they have to reapply. And so we just wouldn't reissue a permit once that pilot program were to expire. And then I did just want to add on to the previous question that you had, and you sort of hit on, and it also addresses kind of what you had said about sort of, what happens or what makes the pilot program a success. And honestly, we want to hear all of those types of things, whether it's from a zoning agency, whether it's from a code enforcement agency, because we understand that having these home-based kitchens sort of sprinkled throughout our communities will or potentially might cause problems. And this is all good information that we need to be able to share back to our local decision makers so that an informed decision can be made. And so, yeah, I wanted to
And last and final, just a clarification. So the expiration date of a permit would be what, 2 years? So you get a permit, it lasts for 2 years?
They're annual permits.
Annual, got it.
Right. So whenever it gets issued, it expires the end of February of whatever the next year is. And so that same thing would happen in the case of, when the pilot program expired.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? And it's good you got your contact information. I'm sure our viewing audience may have some questions or comments or thoughts. Was there another question? Oh, right.
What's the general cost estimate? Let's say if I want to open one tomorrow, how much should I invest in my kitchen, grease trap, passing inspections? Do you have a general cost for opening up and passing the permit process?
We don't collect the cost that it would take to do the full business at a home kitchen. There are some nonprofit groups like the one that we had mentioned earlier, Cook Alliance over in SoCal, and their information is on our website. They do help with this part of the business because we're more on the regulatory side, and they're helping with the cost of the full cost of the home kitchen along with equipment, ingredients, marketing and all of that part. But we don't have that information readily.
And also, I think it might have been mentioned, but just to reiterate, there aren't any like grease trap or any sort of structural or equipment upgrades that are required as part of this. So whatever facilities or whatever equipment is already in the home, that's what's used. There is no requirements from our end that somebody has to use to put forth.
All right, and again, their contact information is on the front, on the slide, and for our viewing audience, I'm sure you'll be getting some contact follow-ups on that also. But I want to definitely thank you all for coming out and sharing the information. It's really exciting, and glad we could provide a venue for you to share the special programming, and look forward to continued partnership as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you. That was great. Now, the Workforce Development Board could not. She got to call into a meeting, so she's not able to attend. So I do want to just mention real quick, so we do have economic development folks in the room, that the Workforce Development Board is definitely a resource for the cities. I mean, they help your companies that are looking to recruit. They can help them find employees. They have workshops, tax credit information, a lot of resources available, and even for individuals seeking employment, they can assist you with connecting with jobs, training assistance, all of that, even if companies are laying off. I happen to go in Concord here to Harvest House Monday, come to find out they're actually closing down. And so I was able to at least connect that staff person with our rapid response coordinator, Charles Brown, that's with the Workforce Board, so they can at least know. They were like, we don't know where to go. Our people are like, what do we do? So at least we were able to connect them with our workforce system, because just so you know, because it's important for you all to know, if companies lay off or shut down, then there are resources available for those employees that are impacted by the change to get assistance going back to work, but also get training assistance as well. And so you're considered a dislocated worker if you get laid off, and there's funding available specifically for that role. So just want to make sure you're aware of that, because the Workforce Board has a lot of resources. They're also out in the community, hearing about what's going on. As they're engaging your business community, they can come back and let you know who they talk to, what they're hearing. So make sure you engage your Workforce Board. They're definitely an economic development partner. I'm fortunate to spend 22 years in that space, so I know how the goal is to try to make those connections with our community and work with our cities as well. So more information, you can contact Tamia Brown with the Workforce Development Board. WDBCCC.com is the website. All right, so now I'm excited about bringing on my colleague, Will Nelson. He's a principal planner for our Contra Costa County Department of Conservation and Development. And then we just recently got I'll let him tell you what's going on, so I don't steal any thunder here. But I want to invite my colleague, Will Nelson, to come on up and share information on our general plan update.
All right. Hello? Oh, there we go. All right, thanks, George. Thank you all. Happy to be here to talk about the county general plan. Let's see, let's just jump into it here. So back in December of 2017, the Board of Supervisors instructed our department to update the county general plan, the climate action plan, and the zoning code. So this slide right here shows three gentlemen that we're familiar with. The general plan that we had in effect was adopted while George Bush, the first, George Bush, was president back in 1991. The second one, or the Climate Action Plan, which is now the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, was adopted while Barack Obama was president. But then we get to the third one over here. That's Harry Truman, president at the end of World War II, and that is when our zoning code was adopted, 1947. And just a little bit of info for the city people here. If you were a city incorporated after 1947, then you inherited the county's zoning code, and I know for a fact that some of you have remnants of that old zoning in your zoning today. So these are three pretty old documents. Maybe not the one in the middle, but definitely the two on the end. So it was definitely time to update these. And so as you can see here, get the pointer, yep. November 5th, 2024, we did in fact adopt the new county general plan just 2 weeks ago, along with the climate action and adaptation plan. Wow, thank you so much. And we are working on the zoning code as we speak. So I'll leave it at that. So 2045 general plan, and in all fairness to Lindy, she did say 2040 earlier, and I corrected her. Well, when our 3-year project turned into a 6-year project, we added a few more years because we wanted to get 2 decades out of this general plan. So it was envisioned 2040, it ended up being the 2045 Contra Costa County general plan. So just in case, I'm not going to put anyone on the spot with a show of hands, like asking who knows what a general plan is, but a general plan, Stephen apparently does know. But the general plan, everyone's heard of zoning. A lot of people have never heard of the general plan. In fact, the general plan is highest in the hierarchy of land use planning documents. It is often referred to as the constitution or sometimes the blueprint for land use planning in a jurisdiction. All of your land use planning decisions have to be consistent with your adopted general plan. Your zoning has to be consistent. If you have design guidelines or standards, they have to be consistent. Specific plans have to be consistent. It all flows from the general plan. So every city and county is required to have one. And well, I kind of already went over the second point, but it also it establishes a vision. So it's a technical planning document, and it's a policy document, and it's also a vision document, right? It looks a couple decades into the future. So it addresses not only what is your community, but what does your community want to be down the road. So again, ours was from 1991. So what people, I'll go back for a second. It was adopted in January of 91. So it really reflected 1980s thinking, and we've definitely changed a bit in our mindset since the 1980s. So it was very important that we have a new general plan in this county. And I should mention, well, I'll get to this in a second. When the board directed us to update the general plan, they directed that we incorporate these 4 themes throughout. So community health, economic development, and sustainability are fairly straightforward. We can all kind of understand what those mean. I mean, as far as the community health goes, we have a much better understanding today of how the built environment affects our health. And so that was a very important thing for the board that they wanted us to. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you have all of your land uses spread out all over the place and the only way to get to each one is by driving, what does that mean? You're not walking or you're not bicycling, you know, things like that. How land uses interact with each other. What is next to what? You know, we have, you know, it was alluded to our history of zoning and planning in this country. We kind of got away from building cities in a logical fashion like they do in pretty much every other country in the world. Here we decided that, oh no, it's best to get in a car and drive 10 minutes to something that I could just as easily have walked to. And so reconnecting our communities, reintegrating the land uses, making sure there are parks and recreational facilities and all the basic stuff that people need to live their daily lives within proximity to each other. That's kind of the community health part. Economic development, we'll get more into. Sustainability, of course, that's a huge topic. More sustainable economy, a more sustainable society, using our resources in a more efficient way. But environmental justice is a requirement of Senate Bill 1000, which was passed a few years ago. And there's a lot to this, but really what it boils down to is that planning does not have a very good history in this country. And for about 100 years plus, it has been used as a tool to segregate society, to create haves and have-nots. And the California legislature said, no more of that. You're addressing this. And so environmental justice is about creating equity in our communities, making sure that all of the communities in our jurisdiction have the same basic level of resources, and there is a huge disparity in the unincorporated county from one community to another, what people have over here and what they don't have over there. It's making sure that the infrastructure, public works projects, our programs are equitably provided across communities. There's more to it than that, but that's the idea of environmental justice, is really starting to undo some of these things. And just to give a little more context to it, we live right here in Pleasant Hill. Our house is 3 minutes away from here. There's a deed restriction. Our house, it's in the deed. It says it can only be sold to white people, and that's from 1950. We're not talking about, the South in the in the 1880s. That is right here in the center of Contra Costa County within the last century. So these kinds of things were happening right here, and so it's a big job, a big task to start undoing this. So, So here are the general plan elements. State law requires your general plan to have various chapters called elements. Land use, transportation, housing, conservation, open space, and safety are all required elements. You're also able to add whatever else you want that pertains to planning in your jurisdiction. Growth management at the bottom there. So going back to CCTA and our Measure J, our half-cent sales tax, one of the requirements for all jurisdictions in the county is that you have a growth management element consistent with Contra Costa Transportation Authority's growth management element. That's how you get, it's called return to source funds, some of that money back to take care of your local roads and infrastructure. The stronger communities element, so the reason the graphic looks like this is that the four themes, while the board said integrate them throughout, which we did, we ultimately found out that they still kind of needed a home base. There were topics related to these themes that didn't really fit cleanly in the other elements. So the stronger communities element is really where you'd go to read about these four themes, get background information on them, etc. So, whoops, there we go. So the land use map. So I should mention that the county's land use jurisdiction is only in the unincorporated area. So everything shown in gray here, that's all the incorporated cities. Each of them has their own general plan. They're required to have their own general plan. They all have their own land use map. But this map is extremely important to everyone who is involved in economic development because it says what can happen on any piece of land in your jurisdiction. It's hard to see at this scale, but you can certainly see that most of the county's jurisdiction, which is nearly 500 square miles, so it's quite a large area that we plan for, it's these various colors, various shades of green and earth tones. Those are all things like agriculture, state parks, East Bay Regional Park District parks, basically rural areas. Most of it is undeveloped. Most of our jurisdiction is undeveloped. The dark green is those parks, the watershed areas around the large reservoirs. This here, the agricultural core, that's the best soil in Contra Costa County. That's where our agricultural economy is sort of grounded. And then all these colors here are the various land uses. So one of the things we wanted to do with this general plan in terms of economic development was simplify things, cut the red tape. So these land use designations, there were 32 of them in the existing general plan. We cut it down to about 21. And what does that mean? Well, for example, these several that are for residential development, and residential development is economic development. People are called customers, right? Not to mention there's all the building of the homes and all that contributes to economic development. But there were 12 of those before. Well, so if you had a project and it didn't fit, into that one of those 12 little buckets, right? On this property, it's designated for this, but you actually want to build that. Well, you have to go through a general plan amendment that might take a year, might take 2 years, might take 10 years for some projects. Extreme costs involved, public processes and such. And so we wanted to, kind of make it easier, make these fewer of these buckets, make them wider. So on your piece of property, maybe you don't have to do a general plan amendment to build 50 units, or you can build 50 where you could maybe only build 30 before. Things like that. We added a bunch of four mixed use designations. Again, kind of going back to planning the way it used to be before us planners messed it all up. Mixed use, go to any town that was built before World War II, and what do you see? Mixed use on their main streets, right? You see first floor retail, and you see living units above, right? You go to Virginia City, old towns, old west towns. What do you see? 4-story, 3-story, 4-story buildings with commercial uses on the bottom, residential uses above. That's how we used to build in this country. We got away from it. So those mixed use designations, we applied it on, a lot of the main thoroughfares in the county. So Willow Pass Road, Pacheco Boulevard, San Pablo Avenue, places like that. The shopping centers, Alamo Plaza, Blackhawk Plaza, opened those all up to residential development. The state also kind of did that for us through a couple laws, but we also did it in the general plan. So a lot more opportunity to build. The general plan actually plans for 23,000 new residential units in the unincorporated areas over the next 20 years, 1.2 million square feet of commercial and office space, and 5 million square feet of new industrial space. Oh, and then just to put an exclamation point on it, the one here, the red one, and these two kind of purplish colors, lavender colors, that's all of the commercial and industrial designations. And so before we had local commercial, marina commercial, office, all these different things. Again, if you didn't fall into the right one, you might need to do a general plan amendment. Now there's one. You get to do it. Then there's two for industrial development. It makes it easier for people to do things. So these are the focus areas, the economic development focus areas in the general plan. Northern Waterfront Initiative, I'm not going to read every single one, but the Northern Waterfront Economic Development Initiative is a big one, stretching all the way from Oakley to Richmond, revitalizing the waterfront of this county, all that old industrial land. Some of it is still operating, some of it isn't, but it's a huge resource. Priority production areas, we're working through MTC and ABAG with Oakley, Antioch, and Concord, right, on a PPA program and our consultant PlaceWorks. The Green Empowerment Zone, that's an area where we are hoping to get more of these green businesses, over the next couple decades. And again, workforce development, permit streamlining, all these are all addressed in the new county general plan. And by the way, those four themes were not really in the old general plan. Pretty much not at all. Economic development, probably a little tiny bit, but other than that, nothing was really in there. This is just a screenshot. So the section of the general plan is called Economic Vitality and Empowerment. That goes back to that environmental justice theme as well, that a lot of people, they're not empowered in this county. And so it's about having a strong economy, but also an economy that is accessible to everyone, that people can participate in, right? Again, just a screenshot from the plan, the way it is organized. We have our goals, our visions, these things we really want to achieve, supported by policies, and then action items. The actions are kind of the to-do list. And those could be things like adopting an economic development strategy. It could be making specific changes to our zoning code to improve to streamline permitting or have whatever outcome it is that we're looking for. And then as you see, the icons associated with those 4 themes are all there. Each of the policies and actions is tagged with them too. So you can look at, say, policy 8.5 here in the stronger communities element and see, oh, so it supports community health, environmental justice, and economic development. And then we have all those in appendices at the end too. So if you say, I want to see all the policies and actions about economic development, bam, there they are, organized by element of the general plan. So the mapping, lots of maps in this general plan. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? So I just wanted to show you some of them. Goods movement, here we have this map. It was mentioned earlier, of course, the county has 2 airports. We have a deep water shipping channel. And, the airports, everyone knows about Buchanan. I just want to say Byron Airport is an incredible resource that we have. There's a lot of drone testing that goes on out there. All kinds of things are happening at Byron Airport, and the county. Going back to that land use map, something you'll see is that we have, I don't have to tell you all this, a huge traffic problem here, but it's all going one way. People going out of the county, right? Because we don't have enough jobs in this county. We have enough people, we don't have enough jobs. Now, they also, we got our regional housing needs allocation, and they want us to build 49,000 new units in this county over the next 8 years. That doesn't really exactly help with the jobs housing balance or imbalance. But places like Byron Airport, that can support jobs. East County can support jobs. It's the biggest problem is East County, right? That horrific traffic on Highway 4. And if you look, we all know this as well. BART trains that are going east in the morning are empty, and the roads going east in the morning are fairly empty. If we can start evening that out, right, getting more people going in the other direction, we can also take advantage of some of this infrastructure that we spent all these billions of dollars on over the decades. It actually isn't being used during the commute hour. So again, goods movement facilities. I talked about the ports, the shipping channel, the airport. We have rail lines in this county. Transcontinental rail lines. We have all the bones here for economic development. The green empowerment zone and the priority production areas, I mentioned that. Our priority production areas in the county are in blue here. There's a general plan action to establish another one in Rodeo around the refinery and industrial facilities there the next time that opportunity comes. And then the green empowerment zone is here, as I mentioned, kind of, except for Byron Airport, it is sort of, I don't want to say coterminous, but I guess, layered with the Northern Waterfront Initiative. I talked about environmental justice. So the state provided us a tool to identify the communities that they call disadvantaged. We don't really like that name, so we call them impacted communities in the general plan. These are the impacted communities in unincorporated Contra Costa County. And if you look at this map, and then you look at a map of, say, general plan land use designations for heavy industry, you will find that they are the same map or very close to it. And so this map, asthma rankings, kind of the same map in that area. Cardiovascular disease, same map. Now we get out here, this is also, some of it's the air quality in the Central Valley that affects these things. There are other issues in other parts of the county. Low birth weight, kind of the same map again. And so you see this theme here. So, this issue of environmental justice is very closely linked to economic development because it's what's the industry going to be going forward in this county. And, when we talk about green industry, people sometimes ask what that means. As far as we're concerned, that can be assembling light rail vehicles, it can be, those support public transit, right? That's green. It can be assembling batteries. It can be manufacturing wind turbines. Who knows? And other things that we don't even know of yet. Other things are on the horizon, right? I saw an article in Forbes about a year ago where they talked about the Navy kind of having seller's remorse over Mare Island, and it talked about maybe having a nuclear sub base here in Contra Costa County. So who knows? Maybe that'll happen someday. 10,000 jobs, it said. So we don't know what it's all going to look like, but we do know that it's going to change. And so, just kind of the takeaways from today. Supervisor Carlson mentioned this in his opening. We're a very diverse county in terms of our economy. We go from agriculture to the heaviest of heavy industries. The county supports economic development through numerous programs and initiatives, as I showed on that slide. This new general plan, 23,000 new residential units, several million square feet of non-residential uses. And what I mean by that, the EIR, the Environmental Impact Report, covers all that. So once we exceed that, then we're not really covered. It's not that more can't happen, but it's easier from an environmental review standpoint right now to do that amount of development. Trying to streamline approvals for residential development. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer at this point. But also, if you were to search the document for the number of times it says small business or locally serving business, it comes up over and over and over. We're trying to make it easier for people to open businesses, to fill empty storefronts, that sort of thing. You go to a place like Crockett, old community, tons of empty storefronts, right? It's a cute little community. Wouldn't it be great to have more businesses there, or Rodeo, or North Richmond? And I could go on and on with the list of communities in the unincorporated county. It's also significantly harder to pollute a community with this new general plan. And I mean significantly harder. And you have to do a lot for that community if you're going to come in and open a business or do a project that is going to pollute. I will say Supervisor Joya has been very instrumental in requiring warehouses and distribution centers to achieve a very high level of, I'll say, cleanliness when it comes to diesel emissions and such. And FedEx has a facility in North Richmond. We put a lot of conditions of approval on them to have it be a clean business. Those conditions have now become policy in the general plan, and FedEx is now holding that up as kind of a model facility for the future. And then I mentioned the anticipated transition to more sustainable industries in this county. So, people see kind of the writing on the wall, internal combustion engines. You won't be able to buy one in this state in a few years. And so, things are changing, and this general plan it supports or anticipates that change. And so there's my contact info. I know they'll be sending out the PowerPoint. And that is all. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. That was an awesome presentation, by the way. All this information is great, and all this thought and all these things. I just don't know. Is there someone going out to businesses and letting them know that, hey, we've streamlined things since November 5th. We've got this new plan. We have this section where you can come and move. Is there an organization, or do we rely on businesses coming to look at Contra Costa to move here, or do we actively go out and look for possible businesses?
So I'm the planning guy. So I'm looking at George and Allison and Sal because they are our economic development staff. So I'm actually going to punt that one to anyone who wants to answer that question.
Yeah, Allison Greenlee with Economic Development. I think that's a fabulous idea. I think that now that the general plan is adopted, I think that it's something that our team should be going out and promoting, because we have these 4 principles that are underneath the general plan and the climate action plan as well, which I know Will didn't present on. But we have an expanded team, and I want to mention my colleague Salvador Morales as well, who's in the back, who's supporting us. We have the capacity to be going out and doing some of this outreach, and I think we absolutely should be. So thank you for that input.
And I just want to add that the document itself too, we even chose, it took 6 years to do this. We chose the pictures, very carefully, because we want it too to be sort of an advertisement for the county, And even if you don't even read the thing, you go through and you look at the photos and you say, wow, this looks like a pretty nice place with all kinds of good stuff going on.
Yes. And also, thanks for that question. Part of it is even like today, having Will share this information is going out to, is broadcast live on Contra Costa television. So many of our constituents will now become aware of that, weren't aware before, but great question.
Yeah, and again, not a question, but kind of just to piggyback on that and to give Will some public praise here. Him and his team were out specifically in District 3, but I know across the county in all of the unincorporated communities several times in the same communities, sometimes over and over again, late nights, weekdays, we're there till 8, 9 p.m., getting input from the residents in the communities, but also highlighting what this means for those unincorporated communities. So I'm glad you brought that up, but I wanted to just give you and your team some praise on that because, again, in our D3 communities, you were out there a ton sharing this news with them and getting their feedback. So just great job on that.
Thanks, Stephen. And one thing I did not mention is that there were over 170 meetings, and yeah, over the 6 years, and we met, and that includes the Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission, all, the list of commissions and committees that are part of the county government is long. But then we met with everyone from the Crockett Lions Club to the Western States Petroleum Association, and everyone in between, East Bay EDA, East Bay Leadership Council, community groups. We talked to anyone who wanted to talk to us. We got all kinds of community input. So this is really a plan that reflects the community voices.
Hi, Gabby with the City of Antioch. I am new to the field and don't have a background in planning, so I'm wondering, what does this mean for the incorporated communities of Contra Costa?
For the incorporated communities? Well, I think the incorporated communities, cities, often pride themselves on not being under the county's jurisdiction. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, issues don't stop at jurisdictional borders, right? So we've reached out to the cities during the development of the plan, and I will say, as a planner, we kind of joke like we're not the department of other people's business. I mean, jurisdictions kind of, we want to work together, but also not, also have our little things that we do, our little kingdoms, so to speak. And so, there's no direct effect. We don't have jurisdiction in the cities, but I think that the county prides itself on taking a leadership role. And so, this general plan, the things I mentioned earlier, for example, about environmental justice, in Chapter 2, it pretty much pulls off the Band-Aid. And I've had some people tell me, I've never read anything like this in a planning document, not an adopted one at least, where we just say, look, here's what happened. Here's how we're going to fix it, or hopefully we'll fix it. So, I think without sounding, kind of too much like the county, that, hopefully as other jurisdictions, as other jurisdictions are doing their general plans, planners love to plagiarize. We look at what our colleagues do in other jurisdictions and say, oh, that looks good. That looks good. Maybe we should think of emulating that. So, maybe as other jurisdictions are doing their general plan updates, or maybe their zoning code updates, then maybe just looking to some of the stuff that the county has done, contemporary things the county has done, that would be helpful. And then I think another word that if you search it throughout this document is partner or collaborate. You will find it over and over and over again, whether it be with cities, special districts, CCTA, for example, the East Bay Regional Park District. I think that the county really put it out there in the policy document. We're here to work with you all to achieve these goals. So I think perhaps, those are a couple ways that maybe it can affect the cities indirectly.
Any other questions? All right. Well, I know on behalf of our economic development team, we definitely want to recognize Will also for the hard work he's done to create develop the general plan. At the same time, it is going to help us with our efforts to try to increase economic opportunities in the county. So if you don't mind, just join me and give him warm applause to Will. All right, so hey, we're right on target. Look at that, right on to the minute. So now this is just kind of an opportunity for we do roundtable updates. Anything going on in particular areas, jurisdictions, our legislative staff that are here representing our electeds. Any kind of updates you want to share? This is time to just kind of provide that. We got about 30 people in about 30 minutes. So I know everybody doesn't have feedback, but just gives you an opportunity. Anything that you thought of maybe didn't share on the front end, we'll just pass the mic around. Feel free to share any updates.
I'm going to pass because I've talked a lot. So.
There's no way I'm passing. Kevin Cabral, Concord Chamber. We're looking for speakers in the future for some of our government and economic policy committee meetings, so I may reach out for some people here that want to talk to our community about what's happening in the future. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Brett Sweet again. A couple things I want to talk about. The first one is shout out to the great city of Concord, as well as the city of Brentwood, who accompanied us to Verge 2024. And we were able to go and talk to a bunch of clean tech companies and try to get them to come to Contra Costa. So I hope this is the beginning to the future. This is not an exclusive thing. There are other economic development officials here. Come with us next year. Let's do this together and do this in union. The other thing is shout out to Nancy from the SBDC here being here. We're going to have a capital summit between Antioch and Concord coming up that you guys should all be a part of, but we are doing an initiative in Antioch where we have 8 small business resource providers that we are funding with our ARPA money. And we're hoping that this is an initiative that we can bring to Contra Costa. Having been on the other side for a long time, I know that there is not a single initiative, and this county deserves it. So let's start figuring out how to do it while Antioch has some money for it, okay? Thank you very much.
No major updates. Just being here today just shows that there's a lot going on in California, but when we come here together, we do a lot of knowledge sharing, a lot of collaboration, some people stepping up in other areas, seeing partnerships with the SBDC, seeing a lot of successful businesses in Brentwood as well. Benefiting from this service, Chamber stepped up as well. They actually reached out to the city. We provided a grant. Also working with the Downtown Business Association and trying to create a P-bid there. So just a lot of really great things going on, and I take all of this back to Brentwood and try and implement whatever I can. And again, shout out to the county with their general plan update. It's amazing, and it could serve as a blueprint as we're doing our effort too. So curious to see if there's some communication there as well, but fantastic presentation. So a lot of comments, no really updates in Brentwood. We will be having a new Costco and hopefully open up in March or April. So it can ease some of the pressure off our neighboring cities because I can't find parking in those either. So just want to put that out there. We will be extending utilities to the Innovation Center. We're trying to develop 300 acres in Brentwood to bring those jobs to East County, to have that reverse commute go the other way and really take advantage of Antioch's BART station as well. So jobs is our priority right now and trying to bring that to Brentwood.
I also want to say thank you to Nancy from the SBDC. We actually just got approved through council a 3-year contract with the SBDC to have in-person advising at Concord City Hall, and I just met with a business that opened in Concord because of an SBDC advisor. So if your cities aren't working with the SBDC and Nancy and her team, definitely do that. And thanks to Brett, because I looked at his contract to help us figure out what we can do too. So thank you, Antioch. Something fun that opened in Concord is Urban Air Adventure Park, and I want to make sure I let everyone know about that. It's in the old Fry's building. It's about 49,000 square feet, I think it is, and it's massive. There's a ropes course. It's 2-story. I see some of you shaking your heads, so definitely go check it out. I was on the ropes course. I did a small portion of it, but it's a lot of fun and new space for, especially on these rainy days, for families to go and enjoy as well. As far as the Concord Naval Weapons Station, things are kind of chugging along as usual. They are working on it on the back end, but things are going according to plan as far as I am hearing.
I think Susan mentioned partnering up with Chamber of Commerce in other cities to bring us to your event. And so I open up. I'm usually the one going out in the field and talking to people. So feel free to send me an invite for an event that you would like the Green Business Program to attend.
I don't have any updates from Fairfield, but I do want to give thanks to Mr. George Carter for inviting me to this forum. I am going to steal a lot of your ideas with your permission. But please come and connect with me, and I will definitely come and connect with you guys as well. Like Brett said, this is not very inclusive. I want to be inclusive in all of the things that Fairfield does, and would love to be invited to the things that you guys do as well, since we are neighbors anyway. So thank you.
My name is Patience Ofodu from East Bay EDA. George, Allison, awesome again. I love this. I look forward to them every year now. Just kind of learning what everybody's doing and looking forward to getting the materials. But on the East Bay EDA front, we want to remind you to save March 27th of next year for the Innovation Award. We thank those of you who sent nominations from your cities. We did get quite a few of them. We wish we got more, and we will continue to work with the Contra Costa team to send in a lot of nominations. This event had over 500 people last year, sold out, and people were coming in on the last day. So we're begging you, and also talk to your elected officials, please. Help us out when the invitation comes out to sign up on time so that we don't have to change and hustle the last day. We continue to appreciate your support, including your sponsorship. So if you have any businesses in your city that you want to showcase and they want to be a partner of the Innovation Awards, please let me know, and then I will collaborate with them and even work out a customized sponsorship. We thank our city partners as well who continue to support us. And thank you. Nice to see Khaled here in the house as well. Judge, awesome work. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Shifra, City of Richmond. We are launching a ARPA-funded small business grant program today, later this afternoon, and our first info session tomorrow, so very exciting. If you know folks who are interested, we've got lots of information on our website, and we've just launched our mobile vendor plaza last month, which I came in right afterwards, but looking to grow that program, and I'm sure working with Contra Costa County even more. And I think, actually going back, I want to say month and a half, we just published our, I think it was Resilient Richmond special in sort of the SF Business Times. So hopefully folks have seen that and checked that out and kind of considering Richmond and our vibrant economy.
Welcome. It's so nice to have so many partners in one room. We work so much with SBDC and Westlake. I mean, just so many of you. It's very exciting. But I'm going to leave Kieran to talk about the city of San Pablo and all the incredible things. But we're San Pablo EDC. We work across this county. And we've talked a lot about small business today and some of the great things you guys are doing. On our website, it's free. It's called Dream Builder. It's in Spanish and English. And it helps people put together bona fide business plans that will stand the test of a VC, that will go out. So it's kind of going beyond, Working Solutions is a great partner, but it's beyond that, and it helps businesses get to do it little by little. They can do it fast or slow, whatever works for them. It's bite-sized, it's incredible. I had a business that really kind of fought us on this for a while, and working with the city and different things. And afterwards she came to me and said, I really wish we would have met you before. So it's free, and if you guys need access to stuff, if you have things you want to promote, we're promoting across a couple of counties, so please just send them to me, and I'm happy to get my teams connected and get out. We do workforce, business, and first-time home buyers.
I will add in, it has been a pleasure being here today and getting a chance to meet all of you. I did say to Allison afterwards, there was one part that I didn't mention. we are a membership-based organization, and one of the things that a lot of people don't know about Team California is I love this spirit of collaboration, and those people that are members of Team California, I see a lot of you already shaking your head. We collaborate. I love that, we're all working together. We hold a once-a-month meeting online, and from the top of the state to the bottom of the state, we get on and talk about issues and things that are going on. I welcome any of you to at least come in for one of the meetings online and just see how we do things. I'd be happy to send you an invitation. If you're in this room, you qualify as somebody that should be and could be on that meeting. Never, ever any pressure for anyone to join our organization, but I think once you step in and see how we do things, a win for California is a win for all, and we don't want to lose business to our competitor states. So I just wanted to share that again. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, George and Allison, for coordinating this great event. I'll go straight to the point. I'm Harumi Murata with the City of Oakley. We have a very ambitious 55-acre park, the master plan, which recently has been approved. My job here is to cultivate the funding and resources and options that is available. But if you happen to encounter any opportunities where I could connect or tap into, let me know. I'd love to brainstorm some ideas. Well, with that said, we are trying to position ourselves as a premier destination for recreational opportunities, which is quite a new concept here in Contra Costa. But we are trying our best. I had a chance to talk to our planning team yesterday and counted all these units, housing units that we've approved past 5 years. It's 7,200 housing units being processed now. I don't know whether how many population growth in terms of that's going to contribute, but we are experiencing rapid growth and in population and housing and retail, recreational. All things are really going through momentum, and it's happening right in front of our eyes. Just so that wanted to emphasize the fact that we're growing cities. Any opportunities that you encounter, please pass it on to me so that I can connect. We got this new Safeway shopping center project, which is super excited for our, it's the 4th grocery shopping center in Oakley. With that said, it's very exciting project. We also have a Amtrak train platforms construction project going on. By the time next year around this time, we should have the platform ready. If that's not the case, then we'll see what the Amtrak says. But you'll see it tomorrow. That's from Oakley.
Good afternoon. My name is Wesley Alexander. I'm the CEO for CoBiz Richmond, which is a co-working space in the business incubator located in Richmond, but it's actually the only co-working space and business incubator in West Contra Costa County. And I think that's important because it really is a regional resource that can not only serve entrepreneurs, but also nonprofits, also creatives, and also the community. So I just want to highlight that we're very much excited to partner with any of the organizations that have resources that can be impactful to the stakeholders we serve. More than 600 companies have come through our doors. We have a number of individuals that we help secure government contracts. We're introducing people into supply diversity, and we're just informing entrepreneurs what the possibilities are in terms of expanding their businesses and what's really attainable. In that spirit, we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary on November 4th, so we want to just acknowledge that. And in the time of great challenges, we also received 100% office occupancy this past November as well. So just wanted to say that there's value in under-invested communities, and we really need your support to build those bridges and how we can also be of value to you guys. So thank you to Brett as well, one of the founding board members for CoBiz, and all the members in here. You guys are doing great work, and thank you, Joyce, for all that you're doing.
And what's the website?
www.cobizrichmond.com. It is accessible by BART, Amtrak, bus, as well as the ferries, only 6 minutes away.
Thank you, Shayta. And if you haven't checked out CoBiz, please do. I mean, it's amazing. And they do so many things for entrepreneurs outside of just business planning, talking about mental health for business and so many other aspects. So check it out, CoBizRichmond.com. Check it out.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Or Gill. I am a district representative for Congressman John Garamendi. For those that don't know, Congressman Garamendi represents two counties, Solano County and Contra Costa County. His district is as north as Fairfield, as south as El Cerrito, and as east as Antioch. And we work a lot with cities and counties to advocate for them on the federal level. So one thing that I'll highlight is that the congressman has helped allocate over $13 million for Solano and Contra Costa County in the fiscal year 24 federal budget, and $7.5 million of those dollars were in Contra Costa County. Thank you. And those projects are infrastructure projects, housing projects. There's a fuel cell project, transit project, a lot of different projects, and that happens every year. It's called the Community Funding Project. We've already secured projects for fiscal year 25, and for any cities that's in our district looking for fiscal year 26, feel free to contact our office. We can work with you to see if there's any federal dollars for your projects. Separate from that, 2 weeks ago, Congressman Garamendi, as well as HUD officials, presented $15 million for energy-efficient renovations of affordable housing units in Richmond. So that was done 2 weeks ago, and $15 million is going to go for renovating those affordable units as well. So if you have any questions from Congressman Garamendi's office, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to work with cities, counties, even nonprofits to see if there's any federal dollars we can assist with. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Once again, Kieran Slaughter, City of San Pablo, and just to let you all know, I'm entering my second week in the new position there, and so it's exciting. Thank you. Thank you so much. But, you know, Leslie and others in the administration there have been awesome and welcomed me with open arms, and it feels good to be back in Contra Costa County after an 8-year absence. But just wanted to let you all know that I think in June, we recently adopted our economic development strategy. So for any folks who are looking to embark on that study of your own, feel free to take a look at ours. We might have the latest one approved in the county, so that's a good document. It was authored by the Nettleson Dale Group. So they do a bunch of studies around the United States. So excellent document, and we look forward to implementing that. The other announcement is that we launched an RFP for marketing and branding services for economic development as well as the city. So if anybody is also considering an RFP, RFQ, feel free to take a look at ours. You might be able to pluck from that list. So you don't have to go through the same process. And hopefully by the next meeting, it looks like phase 1 of our 99-unit apartment building on San Pablo Avenue on previous city land should be finalized and open for business and open for rentals. And then also phase 1 of 20 townhomes with 8 ADUs, also right there on San Pablo Avenue, should also be ready to go. So we're really excited about that. It's the first new residential that's been implemented in quite some time, but we are excited about that, and it's good to be back. Thank you.
I'll pass.
You'll pass.
Allison Greenlee with Contra Costa County Economic Development. I'll try not to repeat anything that's already been mentioned. We've been working with a whole bunch of cities on putting together some EPA brownfields revitalization grants. We've also been working with a bunch of cities to put in an US EDA application, along with East Bay EDA, Workforce Development Board, Berkeley Lab, on a battery tech hub concept along the northern waterfront. We're waiting to hear back on both of those grant opportunities. So lots happening there. the Board of Supervisors acted to make a standing committee for economic development, and that next meeting is taking place on December 4th at 11:30. So definitely looking forward to our team having a more expanded role in terms of countywide economic development. At the same time, continuing to implement initiatives like the Northern Waterfront. We're also looking forward to implementing the county's $750,000 Just Transition Economic Revitalization Plan. That's a plan to move forward towards those clean and green industries and sectors like the ones that Will was mentioning in our general plan, climate action plan. So we're really excited. We're also moving forward on things like the Green Empowerment Zone, the MTC ABAG priority production areas with a whole lot of cities that are here today. And I just want to say thank you to George for all his work on this event, and would love to give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate you. Thank you. All clear? Okay. All right. Well, a couple things. First, we want to definitely thank Contra Costa Television for coming out, producing the video. Like I said, we'll be airing on Contra Costa Television as well as on the YouTube. They'll have a YouTube link for this program here. But let's give them a hand, please. Yeah. They've been amazing partners all along. I do want to acknowledge my colleague, Salvador Morales. He's back there, but he's a mighty guy, done a lot of help. He helped control all the PowerPoints, get them up for you, but he does so much more now. He's been such a great asset since he started in July. So please, let's give Sal a round of applause. Yeah. And also, Allison Greenlee, thank you for your leadership and support. You know, we're a team of three, but, you know, we got a lot of colleagues, Will and some of our other department colleagues we work with, but I'm just glad that we work in a really healthy environment. I have to recognize, I know Jason Crapo was here, but do want to give a shout out also for our director, John Kopchek, because he's created a really healthy workplace environment that keeps me coming to work every day. I really appreciate that, along with our partnership and teamwork. So just been great that way. There are some swag items if you want, some the recycle market development zone, notebooks, water bottles. Special thanks to everybody to come out. Thank you for your partnership. And again, this is trying to help us all get together to coordinate, collaborate, communicate, so we can have a prosperous close out of this year and then preparing for what lies ahead in the future. But thanks again, Gerbax, all of our presenters for coming out and present. Appreciate you coming out from Sacramento and your leadership all the years around, so many different ways. But thank you to everybody, our legislative staff that are here from our elected offices. Thank you for your continued support and partnership. And so, again, I hope everybody has a safe day. Fortunately, it hasn't started raining yet, so we can get out of here and be safe. We do have some time to network. If, you know, we don't have to get out the door. We do have reserved till 2. Program was set till 1. We do have to clean up and everything else, but feel free to do some connecting, networking. We will be getting the information out from some of our presenters, all that information. I do also have the Team California flyers for anybody that wants to get that. I'll get that, put it out the table out there for you to come join us for that. That's coming up next year as well. So thank you to all our partners, our teammates, our collaborators, and hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving, holiday season, New Year's, and look forward to seeing you 2025, okay? Thank you, guys. Thank you.